defense. But in a game where there's no shields remaining, it makes a little bit more sense.
Setting up to deal some increased damage to this Lantern with both its quick move Poison Jab and a potential Sludge Wave, which will definitely finish it off at this point, once Yamada charges up enough energy.
Yeah, big shield there. Going to want to go for it because there is, of course, the Azumarill in the back, and Azumarill does not want to go up against Lantern. So with no shields left remaining from Mr. Masuda, this Sludge Wave should be able to do a lot of damage, if not get the knockout onto Lantern. That's exactly what happens, and he's back! It's Psyduck!
There he is.
A fan favorite returning, but look how much damage it's taking. Psyduck is just not the strongest Pokemon. Doesn't have the best stats here. Muck is going to be able to get a major acid spray off here. Not going to get the knockout, but the defense decrease should set it up for Muck or Yamada's last Pokemon to really take this one.
And here comes a charge attack from Psyduck. It looks like he's powering up a Water-type move. Aqua Tail, gonna knock out that Muck, but Psyduck, not very much HP remaining against this Azumarill, as both of these players share a laugh up on stage.
The classic tale of the two water types, but Azumarill being fully evolved, not really going to take too much damage here. And Psyduck's moves, unfortunately, don't have great coverage against the Azumarill to begin with. So no shields remaining here. Psyduck will be able to go for its last resort. Going to go for, looks like, the power-up punch. Actually, the cross-chop, excuse me. But that does nothing against the Azumarill Fairy typing, allowing it to resist. And Yamada will take the set 3-0.
It is a cute Pokemon with a lot of personality.
It tried its best, it really did.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy that it made an appearance because if Mr. Masuda wasn't going to use it, no one else was certainly going to use it. But
absolutely.
I think we talked about this earlier. One of the cool things about Pokemon Go is the ability to use all these different Pokemon, your favorites, and it's not necessarily about, winning by a wide margin. Sometimes you just want to try out some cool Pokemon in competitive, and there's absolutely so much merit to that as well.
Right, and we've seen it pay off, especially in that Linoon.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Pokemon out there that can probably hold their own in Great League here against some of these more popular Pokemon like Azumarill, like Deoxys Defense Form. So it'll be interesting to see in future tournaments what Pokemon end up making surprise appearances.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's throw it back to the bracket right now. We've played 6 matches already, but we still have multiple ones left. So I'm excited because we're going back to the winner's bracket now. You know these guys, you know how good they are, and we saw some incredible gameplay displayed from all of them.
Yeah, Pogo King versus Karyume is going to be an incredible matchup. Very excited to see how that goes. We should see some high-level tactics coming from both sides of the field. And then, of course, Strawberry 17 made an impressive showing, showed off some great technical skill in that first round.
Absolutely.
PokeAK, of course, another very well-versed competitor here. So some close matchups definitely coming up.
Yeah, I have to say, obviously, the only match in that original round for winners round 1 was Strawberry going 3-2, but because she was able to play more matches, I felt like we saw how skilled she is with some of the great switches, some of the great adjustments, and some kind of shield baiting as well. Like you said, a lot of technical skill displayed. Obviously, the other players have also pulled off really impressive victories, but I felt like maybe the matchups were a little bit more one-sided. So we'll be able, I think, to get some better demonstrations now of skill, and I'm really excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then even in this losers bracket, we're going to see the level of play increasing steadily as we get closer to these semifinals and finals.
Absolutely. So here we go. We've got 2 matches up there in the winner semifinals for you. Of course, 2 matches in the loser semifinals for you as well. The tournament is definitely underway. We still have a lot of games left, but I feel like it's really about to heat up. We've seen some really good games so far already, and this is going to be a great matchup. Here we go. We're going to get started. It's going to be King against, of course, his opponent, Karyume. And it's actually a Swampert coming out from King for one, so that's actually a new Pokemon we haven't seen too much of yet.
There's something that we didn't see in the first round, and this Swampert carrying Hydro Cannon here, one of those exclusive Community Day moves, a recent Community Day. Very powerful moves. So those special moves, Hydro Cannon, Frenzy Plant, Blast Burn, those starter Pokemon are going to learn those moves on Community Day, and that's very important to have if you're going into PvP with those Pokemon.
Yeah, absolutely, and pretty much almost always baiting out shields because of how much damage they do. Just such great power. Here's another Hydro Cannon, no shield, and look at that damage up against Starbreed. Such a defensive Pokemon. I think definitely a great start for King right now as he's able to do a lot of damage, and he's already gotten a shield out. Looks like he's actually going to commit both of his shields earlier on this game. He feels confident with who he has in the back.
Maybe he's not so sure about the way the rest of his Pokemon match up against the Skarmory. Knows he needs to finish it off with the Swampert if he wants to have a chance.
Right. Another Hydro Cannon coming out. Looks like he missed one, but still able to get the excellent off, and no shield coming out, so Skarmory will go down. And if, like you mentioned, King is prioritizing an early Skarmory knockout, well, he definitely got that.
You can see how quickly this Hydro Cannon is
Oh
charging
my
up,
goodness.
and just how much damage it's dealing. Really showing you the importance of not missing those Community Day exclusive moves.
Absolutely. Once again, being able to chunk out for about 50% of damage or so. Carry May not opting for a shield. Gonna opt for an attack of his own. Of course, with all the shields already committed from King's End, he will fall down to this Psycho Boost from Deoxys. So it's 2-2 right now, but King does get a free switch in. And of course, he's been able to commit one shield out from Carry May's end. So it's gonna be close for sure, because of course, one shield from Carry May can really turn the tides here in this battle. But right now, Deoxys is really just smacking each other with their fast moves.
Both of these Deoxys trading counters back and forth. Carry May able to get his charge move off quicker. Psycho Boost not going to deal very much damage. King, though, opting for Rock Slide, knowing that it's at least going to be neutral.
Rock Slide, definitely a stronger pick in terms of damage output, but of course, Carry May still has one shield remaining. He will now commit that shield. So both players have used their shields, but it feels like King, the slight advantage right now, given that his Deoxys has a little bit more health. Prioritizing that knockdown Skarmory early, very nice, and now we'll be able to get a Rock Slide off as well. So being able to hit all of those should get the knockout here.
Yeah, able to get to that Rock Slide before Carry May, since he did have a little bit extra energy charged up after using those first charge moves in that matchup there.
Yeah, and Bastiodon, not the most ideal Pokemon because of the counters, like you mentioned, that Deoxys uses as its fast move. Right now, going for a Psycho Boost, it's not going to do, a ton of damage, but any damage against the last Pokemon is always quite nice. Actually, really minuscule damage there, but just the fast move of counter here is just chipping away so quickly.
Right, Deoxys definitely relying more on its fast move in this matchup than its charge moves, but still using these charge moves is a great way to stop damage from coming in while you're dealing that damage with a Psycho Boost.
Yep, so with no shields remaining, the Bastiodon here will be able to get a big Stone Edge off. Should get the knockout here in Deoxys, but King is perfectly content with that. He's able to bring in the Azumarill, which of course has that super effective bubble as its fast move, and with no shields remaining, any charge move at this point will finish off Carry May. So really nice to lead with the Swampert. I thought that was a really excellent lead against Skarmory, which typically is a very consistent lead, but it feels like maybe the Swampert actually has the advantage there in that matchup.
Yeah, with the power of Hydro Cannon, that Swampert was really almost easily able to take that match away from Skarmory.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like, normally it's, you don't expect to see shields committed very early on, like both shields that quickly. But like you mentioned, I think King's strategy here was, okay, as soon as I get rid of the Skarmory, that'll really pave the way for the Pokemon I have in the back. And he was able to even bait out one shield, and that was enough for him. So definitely a close game, but in that Deoxys versus Deoxys matchup, I think also we saw the opposing Deoxys go for the Psycho Boost, and we saw just how little damage it did, whereas Rock Slide obviously does so much more. So in that position, maybe it's a little bit better to not even try to go for the Psycho Boost, especially if you've gotten the shields out, get all the energy, and just go for one, if not two Rock Slides, or maybe Thunderbolt if it's carrying it.
Right, it shows the importance of being familiar with these matchups. Psycho Boost, definitely a move that costs less energy, so you're able to use it a little bit quicker, but in this case, it's the optimal choice to charge a little bit extra and then use that Rock Slide because it is going to deal significantly more damage. So
here we go, the second game. King with a early 1-0 lead, and a classic tale here as both Deoxyses fend off against each other, really just smacking away at each other. I believe King says Rock Slide, but Carry May says Thunderbolt, so who do you think has the advantage here?
Wow, it'll actually be really close. Both of these moves, in fact, all of Deoxys Defense Form's moves are great choices in PvP, so I'm interested to see how this one shakes out.
Quick early Rock Slide there from King, though, so he's gotten some good damage off immediately. Is he going to commit his shield here right now against the opposing Deoxys? And is it going to be the Psycho Boost or the Thunderbolt coming out? Going to be the Psycho Boost, not very much damage, maybe hoping to bait out a shield, but no shield there from King, so very nice play there. He's definitely got an early advantage. It's another Rock Slide coming out, able to connect with all of them, and he's able to get an excellent, so big Rock Slide coming out. King definitely in the advantageous position right now.
Definitely a good call by King, reading that attempted shield bait there. Carry May committing to the Thunderbolt here, dealing similar damage to the Rock Slide, but unfortunately will cost a little bit more energy, so maybe Rock Slide is the better move to have in this mirror match.
Yeah, this is so close. All right, Psycho Boost is going to come out. We saw how little damage it did, but Carry May's Deoxys is quite low. Is it enough to get the knockout? It looks like it will be able to. So, early lead for King, but his Deoxys is about to fall down pretty quickly. He's not really close to getting a charge move off, but let's see. Oh, it's actually got enough energy. Okay.
Wow, able to get that Psycho Boost.
Yeah, Carry May is not happy about that.
Big play for King here.
Yeah, let's see if a shield comes out. No shield, but actually not that much damage, but I think King's definitely got to be content with that, given how low the Deoxys was in terms of health.
You're now choosing to send out Swampert again. We're going to see the power of Hydro Cannon. King chooses to use the shield, probably expecting something like Ice Beam.
Yep, exactly as you called it. It is going to be that Ice Beam that would have done a lot of damage. Great shield there. Going to commit its first one, but I think a great shield opportunity. Can actually opt for the Hydro Cannon here, so of course Azumarill does resist that. We'll see if Karima expects the Hydro Cannon. No shield comes out, but does do a fair amount of damage.
I do see King charging up enough energy to use Earthquake there, maybe trying to bait out a shield, tricking Karime into thinking he was using Earthquake.
And it looks like there actually was a shield that time around, so maybe expecting the Earthquake like you mentioned this time, but King using up his last shield as well, so we'll take up this Ice Beam, but I think definitely in a great position right now. Of course, Karime still does have one shield left, but we saw kind of how much damage Swampert can do with this Hydro Cannon, so Karime really has to be effective on this last shield. We'll see if he decides to commit to it right now. Oh, he doesn't, and he took so much damage there.
No shield as the Skarmory continues charging up. We're going to see Sky Attack coming across towards that Swampert. No shields left for King.
Ooh, so much damage. Actually gets the knockout, so really not a bad position for Karime right now. He has two Pokemon. They're a little bit low, but he does, of course, have one shield, so be able to block a big foul play coming out from this Umbreon. Umbreon's going to opt to go for it. You imagine Karime's going to want to use it right now, but maybe he wants to conserve it for the Azumarill in the back. It looks like he will commit it here right now. Of course, Azumarill has a better typing against the Umbreon as well, so Karime actually in quite the good position right now.
All right, we're going to see no shields left for King. Sky Attack's not going to deal a ton of damage, but this Umbreon is on its back foot right now. King here trying to finish off the Skarmory, decides to commit to the charge attack, charges up a little bit extra energy, but unfortunately unable to take that Skarmory down with just quick moves. Does have to commit that foul play to just a tiny sliver of that Skarmory's HP.
All right, here we go. Who's going to get the charge move off first? Oh, looks like it's going to be Azumarill. Will it be enough to get the knockout here with the Ice Beam that it's going for? Oh, let's see how much damage it does. It's so close, and Umbreon still hangs around. Oh, and it gets the charge move off. No way.
Able to get that last resort.
Wow. And an excellent attack there. Will be able, looks like, to get the knockout. Wow.
Enough damage as the time expires.
That was an incredible game. That was so close.
Came down to literally the last second. The last move.
Really great play there. I mean, from both ends. It was so close. Came down to the wire. I felt like we couldn't see the Azumarill on the Ice Beam, whether it was an excellent or a good attack, and or great, excuse me. And if it was maybe a great and not an excellent, that could have been the extra damage that he needed to win the game.
Right, yeah. Oof. Amazing play by both of these players. Let's see how Karime adjusts heading into a potential elimination game.
Yeah, he's definitely been playing really well, but unfortunately just coming short both times by a little bit. I've really been impressed by this Swampert. I think if there's a Grass-type Pokemon on Karime's team, something like Tropius, for example, which I believe we saw earlier, that'd definitely be a great Pokemon to give Swampert a lot more difficult of a time, because right now it feels like the Swampert's able to just come in whenever it wants, doesn't have to really worry about the offense from the opposing side because there isn't any super effective Grass-type attacks coming out.
Right, and that Swampert is actually a very recent addition to the Great League metagame here, as we just had Mudkip Community Day in July. So Swampert actually wasn't able to learn Hydro Cannon until very recently, so maybe Karime hasn't had a ton of practice going up against this particular moveset.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the things, right? There are, anytime newer sets come out, it kind of redefines the metagame and what it looks like. But okay, it's going to be a Deoxys lead this time for King against the Skarmory. So both of very defensive Pokemon, both able to do some good neutral damage against each other. And oh, a switch out actually into Sableye. And both players opting for a switch. Okay.
Yeah, King following up on that switch immediately. Definitely the right choice here. Bringing out that Umbreon against Sableye. I'm excited to finally see Sableye, a Pokemon that's actually very popular in Great League, and I'm surprised that we haven't seen it until now. Yeah,
unfortunately Sableye maybe doesn't get the better end of this matchup in terms of damage output. Not able to do very much with his charge moves. Umbreon will be able to at least get a pretty strong foul playoff. Well, it looks like a bunch of ones missed there, and potential shield used there from Carryman.
King may be expecting the shield, not committing to the excellent damage there.
Yeah. As Sableye here goes for a foul play of its own, yeah, and it's really not doing too much. That shield there was able to obviously block all the damage earlier on, but King right now content to just trade damage. I think very happy to have gotten that shield off earlier. Looks like he is not going to commit the shield this time around. Makes sense because Sableye's attacks aren't doing much, but it's actually Power Gem instead of Dark type attack.
Yeah, nice coverage move there on Sableye, able to get some neutral damage across to this Umbreon.
Excellent attack comes out from King. No shield coming out this time from the Sableye. So
solid damage.
Who's going to go down first? Looks like it's going to be Sableye.
And King does have that foul play ready to go. He'll probably commit to it right away.
Yeah, you can see him clicking as quickly as possible. Is going to be able to get it off. And I mean, that's a really big skill set in Pokemon Go, right? Being able to make sure you have enough energy just for something, even when you're very low. I think perfect usage there and brings Skarmy down to actually half already, which is very impressive.
Right, and when we saw King earlier not fully charging up his attack, his strategy may have been to not deal too much damage so that he could continue to use fast attacks to charge up extra energy. So really great foresight by King, having just enough energy to get that last foul play off.
Here we go. He still hasn't committed either shield, so you'd imagine this might finally be the time for one. He is going to use that first shield in an excellent position right now. He definitely has the health advantage. It's 2-2 right now, but he's about to be able to charge up this Rock Slide, so he's going to go for it. Is Carryman going to be able to block it this time around? King is able to connect with all of it so far, getting an excellent attack off. No shield, and that Skarmory now is so low.
Looks like Skarmory's going to go down before firing off one last charge attack. Carryman down to his last Pokemon, which is Tropius. Going to deal a lot of damage with that Razor Leaf, but this Rock Slide's going to come across and really hit hard.
I really love the switch that King made immediately into the Umbreon early on. I felt like it really kind of made the Sableye significantly weaker, especially because Sableye is such a good matchup against the Oxys. So both Pokemon kind of trading away right now, but it feels like King should be able to run away with this game, especially with the shields committed. The Rock Slide here should probably be able to finish off the Tropius. Is it enough? Let's see. Looks like it is, and King will be able to advance on to the winners finals in a 3-0 set. He is 6-0 throughout the course of this tournament right now. He has not dropped the game.
King, absolutely one of the most intense competitors. Again, despite his goal being becoming the best PvP coach, not necessarily the best player, but of course, the best players often make the best coaches.
Absolutely. Great demonstration of skill there. And I think we actually saw kind of a new concept in that last set that we haven't seen so far, which, like you mentioned, was actually kind of not getting the perfect charges on the attack. You said conserving some of the energy so that later on you could save it up for the more powerful attacks.
Right. Very high-level strategy there to just deal a little bit of damage with that charge attack so that you don't knock out the opponent's Pokemon too early. You're able to use more quick attacks, charge up more energy so that you have that ready for whatever Pokemon comes in next.
Seriously, that was a good a great demonstration. I mean, I think that game that went to time, that was pretty much just one hit away. That probably the closest game we've had, and I think something that makes Go PvP so exciting is that you do get a fair amount of these games that come down to the last Pokemon, and you're both kind of just clicking, seeing who gets the charge move off first. And in those positions, you have to really be clutch because the difference between a great attack and an excellent charge move is all the difference.
Right, and maybe we'll see a lot more close matches as we go ahead and take a look at our bracket.
All right, so King obviously advanced on to the winners final there. We still have Strawberry 17 and Poke-AK. Really excited for that one because Strawberry played out of her mind to take a very impressive victory against, of course, Yamada in that first round in winners. The loser of that will face Morimoto, and then Carryman and Yamada will face off against each other to see who makes it on into the losers bracket. So, we've progressed with more than half of the tournament at this point, but we still got a lot of games, and grand finals I think potentially could be 2 sets depending on if the player coming from losers bracket is able to reset the bracket. So we still have a lot of action. I'm really excited. Yeah,
definitely some potential for an upset here as we get closer to this grand finals.
Here we go. I think we're ready to throw it down to this next match. Very, very skilled competitors. King really, I think, proving himself to be an early favorite in this tournament, though. 6-0 so far, and very technical gameplay. But I think Strawberry in that first set proves that she really knows what she's doing, and she really fought through the nail. I mean, she was on the verge of sweeping and then almost got reverse swept, but had her composure, played an excellent 5th game there in the first round against Yamada. Poke-AK, meanwhile, coming off kind of a hot win, 3-0, really just kind of a sweep there in that first round.
Yeah, let's see if that boost to his confidence affects his play here, or if he can keep his composure and really come into this match with a level head.
Absolutely. So, ready to jump into it. It's definitely been a fun tournament so far, so I hope you guys at home have been enjoying it. Stay tuned because obviously we have a ton of games left. But of course, if you want to check out all the action here at the World Championships, tweet along, use that hashtag PlayPokemon. Show your support for all the competitors. Let us know who you're rooting for.
Here we go, heading into our first battle. We see that Skarmory versus Skarmory match, and these two birds are just dancing with each other.
So no surprise here. Yeah, kind of mirror match, but as you've mentioned before, Skarmory really one of the strongest Pokemon to lead with because it has such good matchups across the board. So not too surprising, I think, to see it. Looks like PokeAKs will get the first Sky Attack off. Some good damage, but I think we kind of expect trainers to really just trade Sky Attacks off right now.
Right. It'll be interesting to see how these players choose to shield, as that'll really make the difference in who comes out ahead from this lead matchup.
Yeah, being able to get excellent attacks off is actually really critical as well. You notice Strawberry missed a bunch of those earlier, so the flying type definitely a little bit hard to hit excellent because it moves so rapidly. PokeAK getting his second charge move off so far. No shields committed yet. I think trainers opting not to shield here because they know that the damage output isn't that great to begin with. It's going to be a flash cannon coming around this time around from the Skarmory on Strawberry's end. No shield, and oh, it does a lot of damage.
Definitely surprising PokeAK right there. Strawberry 17 maybe opting for the flash cannon because one, it does deal more damage, and two, probably an easier type of move to hit excellent damage on.
Yep, so getting the knockout there, but both players still have all their shields. It's actually going to be Lantern coming out, which of course resists the flying and steel type attacks from the Skarmory. So we're actually going to see a switch out into the Venusaur. Venusaur, an excellent Pokemon to have, especially now that Skarmory's out of the way. Skarmory is pretty much one of the best Pokemon in Pokemon Go you can have against Venusaur.
Yeah, and this Venusaur, again, carrying one of those all-important Community Day exclusive moves in Frenzy Plant. A very, very powerful move. Definitely smart of Strawberry to switch out into this Medicham here.
Yeah, absolutely. Cannot afford taking a Frenzy Plant, which would most likely just knock out that Lantern. There's going to be another big Frenzy Plant coming out. Great shields from Strawberry, but now she is playing up against an opponent who has two shields. Going to go for the power-up punch here, but I think Venusaur now actually in a prime position because you've baited out the shields and you've gotten rid of the Skarmory. So in a phenomenal place right now. Power-up punch really not going to do very much, and big potential charge move here from the Venusaur. Looks like it is going to go for one of the two. Let's see which one it opts for. Gonna opt for the Frenzy Plant, and oh my goodness, look at that damage.
Medicham, though, able to hang on with just a sliver of HP, gets this Ice Punch off. Let's see if it can actually deal a significant amount of damage. Again, it did use that Power-Up Punch, but Venusaur did have one shield ready for it.
Yeah, you can see how much pressure this Venusaur put on, basically forcing out shields on both the Medicham and the Lantern with that Frenzy Plant. So Lantern really probably one of the worst Pokemon you can have against the Venusaur. PokeAK is just going to go for the shield there. Doesn't want to take any damage, might as well. He's still got 3 Pokemon, and he can get a super effective Frenzy Plant off here. So really, really impressive play here. I think he was very content to get that knockout early onto Skarmory immediately because it really paved the way for Venusaur to sweep.
See a nice 3-0 by PokeAK there.
Yeah, definitely rare to see. He actually even switched out that Skarmory, but I think basically his priority was, okay, Venusaur is actually really strong, especially with Frenzy Plant, which is one of the more powerful charge moves. Let me knock out your main threat to my Venusaur, which is that Skarmory, get it out the way, and now Venusaur can just keep clicking Frenzy Plant. Eventually you'll run out of charge moves, basically, or you'll run out of shields to block the charge moves.
Right, and that Frenzy Plant does charge up very quickly
Yep.
and puts out a significant amount of damage. So great move to have on your side, especially with no shields left on your opponent's side of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how Strawberry adjusts. I think she might want to consider having the Skarmory in the back as a potential switch into the Venusaur because it can switch so well into Frenzy Plant and Poison type attacks instead of just leading with it. And okay, the Lantern versus Lantern match. So both first one was Skarmory, this time Lantern. We'll see which Lantern comes out on top this time around.
The difference here, PokeAK using Water Gun on his Lantern. Strawberry 17 opting for Charge Beam.
There's going to be a big attack coming out right now. Here is Lantern. Oh, going to get a Thunderbolt off against the opposing Lantern. But Lantern on Strawberry's end going to retaliate with an attack of its own, also going for the Thunder.
Hitting excellent damage on Thunder with no shield is going to deal a little bit more damage than Thunderbolt, but does cost Strawberry 17 a little bit more energy. Now here she is able to get another Thunder, so if PokeAK does not shield this attack, his Lantern will most likely faint.
Does get the shield off though, like you mentioned, so coming close really so far. The trade-off between Thunderbolt and Thunder is really interesting because obviously these are the same Pokemon, but they're built quite differently. And oh, an actual switch out there, switch out on both ends. So Skarmory now, nice Pokemon to have in against the Deoxys. Will be able to take these counters relatively well, but has to worry obviously about the charge moves from Deoxys. Let's see, Deoxys, of course, can use the Psycho Boost to potentially bait out a shield, but oh, no shield coming out from Strawberry, so good recognition there to not waste the shield immediately.
Great call, especially in the face of a potential Thunderbolt, which would have dealt a ton of damage to Skarmory. So risky move, but it definitely paid off.
Great damage there from the Sky Attack into the Deoxys. This is still definitely anybody's game. Strawberry still has both of her shields left as well, and this time she will go for it, so potentially trying to block something that's not a Psycho Boost. Oh, but it is actually once again the Psycho Boost coming out from Poké. So this time around, able to bait out a shield successfully. Nicely done. And he has enough energy for yet another charge attack and another shield. Is it a Psycho Boost? Oh, it is.
Wow. Great play by Poké, saving up that energy to use those back-to-back Psycho Boosts, get both of Strawberry's shields in the span of 10 seconds.
Yeah, and of course we've seen that Deoxys carry Thunderbolt before as well, so you know, it's really tough to not click shield when Deoxys has multiple attacks, and Poké was able to bait out all of those really, really nicely. So Lancer in a position now to potentially just get the knockout onto this opposing Skarmory. Poké definitely setting himself up for success right now, especially after getting those early shields out of the way.
And here we go back to that Lantern versus Lantern lead matchup. Strawberry 17 committing to that Thunder. Poké has one shield left. Does he decide to commit it?
All right, let's see. There's the Thunder. Like you said, not going to commit it, and will get the knockout. It is down to his last Pokemon, but there's the Venusaur, and once again, with Skarmory out of the way, it is going to be difficult to knock out this Venusaur, especially with the shield left to begin with. So let's see. Looks like able to get the knockout there onto Lantern. We're going to see the last Pokemon. We saw how big, and it is the Azumarill, and we all know Azumarill's matchup against Venusaur isn't that great. Of course, there is the Ice Beam, which does hit for super effective damage, but with one shield remaining on Poké, then it feels like he should be able to take this one.
Right. Interesting choice by Strawberry to bring in those two Pokemon, both weak to the Venusaur. So we'll see how she adjusts heading into the next matchup. She is going to go for the Ice Beam here. Poké commits that last shield, and of course he has Frenzy Plant ready to go. Things are not looking good for this Azumarill at all.
Yeah, not at all. This Frenzy Plant most likely would just be able to get the knockout, and look how powerful it is. Wow, such a strong attack, knocking it out, and Poké taking a 2-0 victory there, or 1-0 victory. He is now 2-0, going to go down to game point. Once again, I feel like the Venusaur is just the MVP of his team. I think it's really cool because in the match before we saw King with his Swampert, and now Venusaur, both of them running those exclusive attacks with Hydro Cannon and Frenzy Plant. They've been able to put in a lot of work so far for these trainers.
Absolutely, and heading into this next match, I would expect to see Strawberry 17 make some adjustments, maybe not bring that Azumarill, maybe not bring the Lantern. Definitely save that Skarmory, knowing how much that Venusaur has really hurt her team.
Absolutely. I think you 100% have to commit to the Skarmory there. And so one thing that was interesting was that, you know, both trainers switched and there was the Deoxys against the Skarmory. And, you know, Poké was able to bait out the shields both times. He used, like, Psycho Boost every time against the Skarmory. He didn't even go for the Thunderbolts, but all of those were able to bait out the shield. And because, of course, Psycho Boost requires less energy, he was able to get more charge moves off, kind of putting on the pressure. So I think that was a really excellent demonstration, if not one of the best, of how you can really bait out shields and how that can dictate the pace of the game. I think for Strawberry, she's really going to want to just keep Skarmory out of until the back. Like, if Skarmory is fainting before Venusaur hits the field, it feels like it might almost just be game over at that point.
Right, and another advantage of Poké just using those Psycho Boosts over and over is that Strawberry 17 still doesn't know if that Deoxys is carrying Rock Slide or Thunderbolt.
Right, right.
Which is really going to come into play here in this third match.
All right, here we go. Game 3. It's going to be Medicham this time around against Deoxys. Some familiar faces, some popular psychic types. Let's see. And oh wow, an actual immediate switch, and it's into the Skarmory. But you know, as we were talking about earlier, if Skarmory goes down, Venusaur might really just be able to sweep. So let's see how much the Skarmory is able to do. Shield coming out this time around. Strawberry has to call correctly. Is she going to go for the shield? She didn't. She used a lot of it last time. No shield. Oh my goodness.
So much damage coming across. We're going to see this Skarmory go down very early, leaving the field wide open for PokeAK's Venusaur.
Oh, my goodness, not shielding the Sky Attack there, but I think PokeAK's kind of win condition at this point is, let me just knock out the Skarmory, and then Venusaur kind of just wins the game, right? So Skarmory here going for a Sky Attack, able to connect with many of them. It's that great, gets the excellent, but is there a shield coming out? There is a great shield right now from PokeAK, so Strawberry, of course, having the shield advantage, but like you mentioned, Deoxys going for those Psycho Boosts consistently, maybe baiting Strawberry to not shield this time around and eat such a big Thunderbolt off.
Yeah, definitely setting up that play in the previous match.
Yeah.
Kind of confusing or maybe tricking Strawberry 17 into letting that attack through.
Here we go. She still has both of her shields left, but this Deoxys just refuses to go down, is going to shield up this time around the Psycho Boost, but if PokeAK has the Venusaur in the back, which surely he must, he should be able to knock out both the Lantern and the Venusaur. It's actually going to be switching into the Altaria, so great attack coming out from the Lantern, not able to connect with all of it. Going to be the Thunder coming out, just some decent damage right now, but I think PokeAK is just setting himself up for it with the Venusaur in the back.
Definitely using that Altaria as a sort of shield, keeping that Deoxys alive just a little bit longer, and of course switching it out with some energy in reserve, so if it does come back in, it might be able to fire off a charge attack right away.
Here we go. All right, Altaria will get the knockout. It is 3v1. PokeAK even conserve the Deoxys. There is an attack coming out right now. Going to use that last shield. Does not want to take a potential super effective Sky Attack. So nice shield usage there, but it's 3v1 right now, and it's quite tough for Medicham to really pull this off. I mean, Power Up Punch could be nice to increase its attack, but with no shields remaining, all these charge moves will be able to just really get a lot of damage off. I feel like the Deoxys baiting out Sky Attack does so much damage there.
Medicham is able to get that last Ice Punch off, which should be enough to KO the Altaria. Unfortunately, still some Pokemon left on PokeAK's side of the field.
Yeah, I feel like PokeAK must have felt really good as soon as the Skarmory ate that Thunderbolt, because that's the main threat you want to check. And PokeAK will advance on into the winners finals in a 3-0 victory. Very impressive play, but Strawberry definitely gave an excellent show as well, and she once again demonstrated just how good she was in that first round. So lots of great action going on. She's still not eliminated. We'll be seeing more of her right now, but I mean, wow, I feel like PokeAK demonstrated a lot of cool stuff there, especially with how well he played with Deoxys, not revealing the Thunderbolt, going for the consistent Psycho Boost to kind of bait out the shield. Like in Game 2, got all the shields out, great. Game 3, baited out, hey, like she didn't want a shield because he kept going for the Psycho Boost and then just ate a huge Thunderbolt immediately. Right,
amazing to see him setting up that play for Game 3. Back in Game 2.
Right, like between games. I mean, that's kind of the skill that goes in like a best-of-3 or best-of-5 matchup, right? Like, your opponent often doesn't know what you'll carry, especially because these Pokemon have access to multiple charge moves, so you really are kind of gambling a little bit. And it's so scary when your opponent doesn't reveal it in an earlier game, especially with the way PokeAK was playing, kind of baited her into thinking, I don't have Thunderbolt, and then boom, all that damage from that one strong Thunderbolt. Really, I felt like not win him the game instantly, but put him in such a good spot, especially because he most likely had the Venusaur in the back.
Absolutely. And as we finish up that match in our winners bracket, let's go ahead and take a look at the full bracket.
So, a couple of matches left. We have our winners finals determined, and that one's going to be really exciting because neither King nor PokeAK have actually even lost a single game yet. They're 6-0 throughout this course of this tournament, so both of them have demonstrated very, very high-level play and expect to see a lot from that. Of course, over down in the losers bracket, we've got Strawberry, who had a really impressive victory in that first round, going down to going up against Morimoto. And Karime is going to be facing up against Yamada. And I think, I mean, all of these players are so strong at this point. We've seen some really high-level plays, so it should be exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yamada versus Karime, definitely going to be an interesting match. We've seen some interesting plays out of both of them. Of course, Mr. Morimoto still hanging in there, heading up against Strawberry 17, who, again, despite falling down to the losers bracket, has displayed some very interesting technical mastery of some of these, especially those big switch plays that she pulled off in the first round.
One thing I really want to talk to you about is you kind of pointed out how some of these Pokemon have rarer moves, right? Like the Swampert and the Venusaur. Do you feel like that's really given some of these players an advantage? Because certainly it feels like those decisions to run those Pokemon with those attacks have put in so much pressure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think they're definitely the standard moves to carry on these Pokemon.
Right.
So if you do see a Venusaur or a Swampert, you're probably expecting those moves. But again, just because of the sheer power, they're absolutely necessary, and they're incredible moves to use in PvP.
Absolutely. So here we go. We are going down to the losers bracket. Going to be Karime against Yamada going up against each other right now. Skarmory against Altaria. This is a lead we've seen multiple times throughout the course of today. Not going to shield there. knows that you don't have to worry about the potential Sky attack or Dragon type attack from the Altaria. Skarmory here is going to retaliate with a Sky attack of its own. Does so much damage there. Yamada actually opting not to shield there. So both players kind of trading damage early on. No shields coming out early on. We'll see who gets the better end of the trade-off. Skarmory definitely in a pretty good position right now, but may have to block a potential attack this time around. It's exactly what he's going to go for.
Karime commits the shield here. Let's see if Yamada has any extra energy charged up after that Sky attack. Looks like Karime does have a Sky attack coming back across the field. Will Yamada commit his shield?
Oh, yes.
He does. Trying to keep that Altaria in here in the battle just a little bit longer.
So both players having a shield right now, and it's so close. Skarmory is quite healthy still relative to Altaria. Gonna go for the Sky attack. It's actually really close in terms of health, and this will definitely get the knockout. If there's no shield, then there is no shield. So Skarmory, very, very close to fainting. Both players have opted to use the shield, so it feels like as close as it can be for an early game match, honestly.
Absolutely, and this Medicham immediately knocks out that Skarmory.
And it's going to be the Deoxys. A good switch in there. You don't want to bring the Bastiodon, of course, counter being very, very super effective there. Ends up bringing Deoxys, which definitely has a slightly better matchup, can take attacks decently well from the Medicham. It's going to go for a power-up punch, and yeah, Deoxys just being Psychic type can take fighting type attacks really well. Oh, it's actually a switch out into the Tropius, so knowing that Medicham a little bit more frail, doesn't want to take too much damage there. Going to be a Psycho Boost coming out.
Couple targets missed by Karime there.
Yeah.
Lowers that damage just a little bit. And this Bastiodon versus Tropius matchup is not looking good for Tropius, as Smackdown dealing quite a bit of damage to that Tropius.
Yeah, that switch out was really big, though. You kind of talked about earlier on today how if you make the first switch, your opponent can just switch into something with a better matchup. I feel like that's exactly what we saw here. Being able to switch into Tropius, which really can't do very much and has to worry about these super effective attacks. Very, very nice decision-making on Karime's end, especially because Deoxys has a pretty good matchup against that Medicham.
Right, and now this Aerial Ace not dealing much damage at all. Karime's smart not to commit that last shield there. Able to get that Tropius down with very little cost to his Bastiodon. Of course, now the Bastiodon is stuck in against this Medicham. Switch timer still counting down, so this power-up punch should finish off the Bastiodon here. And now that Medicham does have boosted attack going up against this Deoxys.
Yeah, ideal position to at least get the attack boost and get a knockout, but the thing is that Karime still does have that shield remaining, and Yamada's attacks with the Ice Punch and Power Up Punch not as strong, so Psycho Boost here. Look how much damage it does. Another one certainly will get the knockout, and with the shield remaining from Karime's end, it really feels like he's in a great spot.
Yeah, Yamada here committing to the Ice Punch. Definitely the smart play, as it would deal more damage. Unfortunately, Karime, of course, does have that shield left. So it's now just a race to this final charge move.
Oh, he's got it off, yeah. Was thinking maybe he could go for a power-up punch and maybe try to have enough energy to get a stronger Ice Punch off. You'd be at +2 attack as well after the stat boost, but the Psychic Boost here will get the knockout onto Medicham, and Karime will take this first win, but that was a close one.
Yeah, absolutely. In that last battle there, committing to the Ice Punch early was probably Yamada's mistake, like you said.
Yeah.
Knowing that Karime still had that shield left, if he had used Power-Up Punch, he would have had a little bit extra energy left over and maybe been able to get off one more Power-Up Punch before fainting.
Absolutely. I feel like it was cool to see the way the switch outs worked that last game, because it demonstrates what you were saying earlier, how it's risky to switch so early on because your opponent can just bring a more optimal matchup and get rid of something basically guaranteed. You might be trading them in that case, but for Karime, that's what he wanted because he was in a position to trade. He already got an early knockout. He had already had a shield, I think. He'd managed to get a shield out of Yamada as well. So there are times where you're okay kind of just going toe-and-toe with your opponent because you already have a slight advantage in some way, whether it's extra energy, extra shields, or a Pokemon advantage.
Right. Using those switches wisely is one of the most important things in Pokemon Go PvP. Of course, with that 1 minute switch timer, if you give up that advantage early, it can really cost you going into the rest of the battle. So here we go into our second battle, Deoxys versus Medicham.
All right. So once again, Pokemon we've already seen. Nothing new here, but once again, early shield usage will be important. I mean, Medicham is something that could potentially snowball if you get a couple of power punches off. It looks like there's not going to be a shield here. Makes sense, because the attack increase happens anyway. Psycho Boost is going to come out here. That is certainly going to do a lot more damage than that power-up punch, so do we see a shield from the Medicham? Yeah.
Good play by Yamada committing these shields early. Medicham is a good lead Pokemon, especially with those shields, because you can use those shields to keep it alive longer, keep powering up with that power-up punch,
right,
and then have a very, very strong Medicham headed into the rest of the battle.
All right, this Medicham has, at this point, now gotten multiple attack increases, so let's see if it decides to shield the Psycho Boost this time around. You would really hate to see all those attack boosts go to waste, and no shield this time around. So 1 shield left to preserve that Medicham. It's doing quite a lot of damage now that it's gotten the +2 attack. Going to be able to get a strong charge move off here, I think. Karame most certainly not wanting to eat up an Ice Punch. Do we see a Power-Up Punch here potentially, though? Nope, just going to be the Ice Punch.
Yamada did charge a little bit of extra energy there, so if he commits the shield here, he might be able to get one more move off before fainting.
Yep. Deoxys here, going to go for the Psycho Boost, and oh, actually no shield, so the Medicham will go down.
Interesting play by Yamada to let that Medicham go despite its Power-Up Punch, boosting its attack so much already.
Oh, Azumarill against the Deoxys, but there's opportunity for the Thunderbolt. That's exactly what's happening right now. Is Yamada going to shield this? That'll be critical, and it looks like he will. Yeah, being aware of the potential super effective attack there. Nice shield. Obviously, hoping to knock out this Deoxys before a second Thunderbolt comes out. Deoxys here looks like is going to opt to not shield. Play Rough is going to come out, and that will get the knockout. So really, really big shield early on to not take the super effective damage from that Thunderbolt.
And here we go heading into that Azumarill versus Azumarill match. Interestingly, on the side of Karame, he's running Ice Beam and Hydro Pump.
Yeah, no Play Rough.
While Play Rough is the ideal move to use in this mirror match.
It means he'll be doing considerably less damage with the charge moves because, of course, Yamada's Azumarill will resist these powerful attacks. So here's a Hydro Pump coming out. Still actually does a hefty amount of damage. And of course, the advantage is like Karame right now does have the shield. So will he commit the shield right now? If not, he'll be eating up a very, very big Play Rough, probably doing around 40% of his health or so. There is a Play Rough, and he is not going to shield, but maybe comfortable with that. Trying to just trade damage right now, knowing that he has the Pokemon advantage. It's another attack coming out, though.
Yeah, a similar amount of damage dealt by that Hydro Pump and Play Rough. The difference is Play Rough is going to cost a lot less energy.
Right.
See Yamada firing off that Play Rough again before Karame even gets Hydro Pump charged up.
Here it is. So Karame going for a Hydro Pump of his own. Like you mentioned, damage output kind of equivalent, but requires a lot more energy. And oh, it hangs on with just a little bit of HP, which Azumarill is going to go down first. Oh, he gets the charge move off. That's a big one. Hanging out with literally what looks like 1 HP.
Very, very nice play by Yamada. Coming out on top in that Azumarill mirror match. Of course, it's going to go down right away to Skarmory.
Oh, who's the last one on Yamada's end, though?
Looks like it.
Oh, it's Bastiodon. That's
He's
exactly what Yamada was hoping for. Wow.
Great position here.
Absolutely. And we've seen this matchup before. Skarmory doesn't have anything to really hit the Bastiodon. Bastiodon gets that super effective flamethrower a lot of the time. So really, really nice position right now for Yamada.
Of course, 1 shield still left on the side of Karame, which could make a difference.
Flash Cannon, doing a sizable amount right now, so we'll see which attack the Bastiodon decides to go for. Does it go for a lower energy one to try to bait out a shield, knowing that there's only 1 shield remaining? It is going to be that Stone Edge, going to be blocked.
Now let's see, it's just a race to get this last charge move off as our time is
it's so close.
6 seconds left.
4, 3, is anyone get? Oh, Skarmory looks like gets the charged attack off. That's going to be a huge Flash Cannon. I'm not sure if Bastiodon can retaliate with the flamethrower in time. This might not get the knockout, but oh.
Wow.
Oh, and time goes up. Oh my goodness. I think Bastiodon might have been able to get a potential Stone Edge or flamethrower off had we had maybe 10 or 15 more seconds in that match.
Yeah, and looking over this team sheet here, it looks like Yamada's Bastiodon actually does not know Flamethrower.
Oh, wow.
Which ultimately ended up costing him that battle.
Right. It looked like he was in such a good spot when he had this Bastiodon in against the Skarmory, but of course, it's so hard to pick what charge moves you want on Pokemon, especially because there's so many options and they give you such different coverage. So despite Bastiodon being a pretty nice wall against Skarmory, Skarmory actually having access to the Flash Cannon to do neutral damage helped out a lot, and Bastiodon wasn't able to really do enough damage in enough time, coming down to time there in the end. First game actually coming down to time today.
Yep. And of course, that match is going to go to Karame because he did have more HP remaining when the time expired.
So timer, not a mechanic we see too often here in Pokemon Go PvP, but often when you have bulkier Pokemon go up against each other, as you'd imagine, they're using slower attacks, they're using attacks, charge moves that don't do very much damage. It's not like you see something get chunked away immediately, but I think as we progress with this tournament, it's no surprise to see more defensive play. A lot of these players have opted for very defensive Pokemon that have good matchups across the board against everyone. So I'm not too surprised to see some of these games last a little bit longer because players are now bringing Pokemon that can really eat up a lot of attacks.
Yeah, and here we go into that third battle. immediate advantage for Yamada with counter going against that Bastiodon. Quick switch, will Yamada follow right away, or will he commit to this matchup? Looks like he's going for the power-up punch here, trying to get some early attack increase on his Medicham.
So we've seen how this played out before, and it feels like Deoxys has the better end here just because Power Up Punch doesn't do much damage, and the shield advantage kind of works out in Deoxys' favor because it's fairly tanky. No shield coming out from that Medicham, so taking a lot of damage there immediately. Of course, does have the attack increase from the Power Up Punch. Looks like it actually is going to opt to go for yet another Power Up Punch here. No shield coming out once again from Karime, knowing that even an Ice Punch won't do too much damage, but attack is relatively high now for that Medicham.
Let's see if Yamada commits his shield here, trying to keep this Medicham in the game, or if he's going to let it go in favor of using some other Pokemon. He does use the shield. He is going to be able to now switch out.
Oh, okay. I like the adjustment here. Because like you mentioned, the attack increases still stay on the Medicham, correct?
That's right. That Medicham is going to keep that attack increase. So when it does come back in with some energy charged up, that could definitely hurt Karime later on in this match.
Yeah, I actually love that play because now you've got the charge attacks off, so you just want to bait out the shields at this point from Karime's and then maybe sweep with the Medicham later on instead of just leaving it out this whole time. So shield comes out this time around from the Deoxys, is going to eat up this play rough. Nicely done there, allowing it to survive, but one shield now down on both players' end, and of course Karime does have access to that Thunderbolt, so we'll see if the Azumarill decides to shield it here. If not, it most certainly will get knocked out.
Yep, Yamada committing to that shield there, and now
another
Karime going for a switch, bringing in that Tropius, knowing that Yamada's switch timer is still counting down, not able to switch out to a counter. Ice Beam is going to come across. Good shield by Karime there. That would have been a ton of damage.
Yeah, absolutely necessary there. But now neither player have their shields. It is going to be really close, of course, because and the Azumarill actually feints as the Tropius has all of its energy ready as well, so we get a really big attack off here. I mean, Yamada obviously wants to bring in the Medicham, but it will just feint to a charged attack here. But Medicham actually gets its charged attack off first, it looks like.
Wow, able to get that.
But Power Up
Punch, Ice Punch would have been an incredible swing in the tempo of this battle there.
Really surprised to see him not have gone for the Ice Punch because there are no shields left on the Tropius' end at this point.
Yeah, you know, switching a Pokemon in, you really do have to be quick in choosing your charge move. And
right.
Again, this is a real-time battle.
Yeah,
players are going to make mistakes no matter
exactly.
how prepared you are.
Absolutely. Felt like Medicham might have actually been in prime position to sweep, but now with Karime still having all three of his Pokemon, even though Yamada has no shields remaining, should be able to just get some consistent damage off across the board, especially with those counters. Stone Edge here will get the knockout onto the Tropius, but Deoxys here will be able to get multiple counters off. It is going to be a 1v1 here in the end, as we actually see the switch out there before the game ends.
Quick switch, just enough energy charged up for Psycho Boost, so if that Deoxys does come back in, it does have a charge move ready to go.
Here we go, no shields remaining, and it feels like Karime is about to walk away with this one. Flash Cannon doing some okay damage there, but in this trade right now, it's Bastiodon against Bastiodon. One is more health, the other is less health. With no shields left, it feels like we know who's going to win. Karime definitely in a prime position right now. Flamethrower doing so much damage there as well. And with the energy, like you mentioned on Deoxys then, it feels like Karime should be able to close out this one.
Yep, just a slow back and forth between these Bastiodon here. Last charge move might not even be necessary. There it goes. Karime
will advance on in the loser's bracket, winning 3-0. So despite tough matchup for him earlier, really impressive play from there, from him. I mean, this was a really fun set too. That second game, I think Karime made some really great switches throughout the course of this game, and I feel like just had Ice Punch came out instead of the Power Up Punch, that could have made the difference. But like you said, there are a lot of factors in real-time play. Sometimes it's hard to actually just get the attack off. Sometimes maybe there wasn't enough energy as well. There's so many factors that go into it.
Right. Unlike VGC, unlike trading card game, you don't have a ton of time to think in Pokemon Go PvP. This is all happening in real time. So these players, no matter how prepared they are, mistakes are going to happen, especially when you're in a high-pressure situation like that, trying to get a move off before your opponent.
Yeah, and I mean, once again, just energy conservation, such a big deal. I think there were some cool concepts explored in that last game, though, right? Like the fact that you could get stat increases and actually switch out, come back in, and have energy and stat increases together can really put on a potential late-game sweep. And that's the concept that we don't see as much of in the main games. But let's take a quick look at the bracket. We've progressed with a lot so far. Only a couple of games left.
Heading into our losers semifinals in the next round. First up, we have Mr. Morimoto versus Strawberry 17, which will definitely be an interesting match. We've seen great technical play from Strawberry. We've seen interesting Pokemon choices from Mr. Morimoto, so I'm very excited as we head into this next battle.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, still the winners final to be played out a little bit later on. That's going to be King against Poke-AK, and they've both demonstrated to be excellent players today. Still 6-0 undefeated throughout the tournament. So someone's going to have to lose there, but it's going to be a fun one. So we've only got a couple of matches left for you guys, but don't go anywhere because the action is still happening right now.
Very, very exciting matches coming up here. Again, the first ever Pokemon Go Invitational. It's amazing to see Pokemon Go PvP represented here on the main stage at the Pokemon World Championships.
And I feel like in a lot of the matches we've seen different examples of how skill in this game, is carried out. We saw in this last game a different strategy where you can potentially get stat boost, switch out, conserve your energy, and come back in. It felt like earlier on in tournaments switching wasn't too common, but later on it's like, we saw Carrymate, you actually used a lot of switches in that last game. I think that was actually the first time I saw at least like 2 switches in the same game. That typically doesn't happen very often because most of the time there's just not enough time to do that. But if you do it very early on in the game, that's what Carrymate kind of prioritized. Definitely was a big advantage for him.
Yeah, really, really excellent mastery of switching, switch timing.
Yep.
And we'll see more of that as we actually head into our winners bracket semifinals.
Oh, okay.
Pogo King versus Poke-AK.
All right, this is definitely going to be a good one. Both of these guys are 6-0 so far. They haven't really been challenged too much. They have really been making a tear through the bracket, so I expect to see a lot of high-level gameplay from these two trainers.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this matchup plays out. Both of these guys definitely very prepared, done a lot of practice, and I'm sure they've done a lot of practice together and against each other.
And that, I think, makes it a lot more exciting. We often see that happen in all the other games that we have featured at Worlds, right? And it changes the dynamic of the matchup because you might play differently. Instead of playing more conservatively, your opponent's running this Pokemon, so you might lead something a little bit riskier specifically to counter something you think they're going to lead. And I think that happens a lot more when you've practiced with a certain player or played with them multiple times throughout the course of your career, and it changes the dynamic of it. So I always love seeing people who I know have worked together or have played against each other before kind of come together because you know that there's already a lot that's happened before the game's even started.
Yeah, and it really speaks a lot to the strength of the Pokemon Go community that these guys who come from different parts of the world, King from Toronto, Poke-AK from Alaska, are able to make this connection over such a long distance and now be here together, competing against each other face-to-face in person for the first time.
Very, very excited to see how this plays out. Let's get started. This is, of course, the winners final, so the winner of this is guaranteed a spot in the grand finals, meaning they are guaranteed a spot in top 2. Anytime you make it to grand finals from winners finals as well, it's huge because it means you have a set advantage against the player coming from losers finals. And it just means you need to win one of 2 sets to win the tournament. So big, big matchup coming here. Here we go. King's on the bottom. Gonna be Poke-AK on the top. And a classic matchup. A Swampert against a Venusaur.
We're gonna see an immediate switch.
Absolutely, you have to, right?
So fast with that, taking minimal damage on that Swampert. Of course, Poke-AK has to follow with the switch as well, so it's Deoxys versus Deoxys. Again, the difference here in the charge moves with Rock Slide on one side, Thunderbolt on the other.
First charge move will come out, will be that Rock Slide from King, doing some pretty good damage, but here's the scary thing, right? Because the Venusaur switched out, King has to know, okay, I have to be able to knock out that Venusaur because my Swampert's not going to cut it. So if Deoxys faints here, King better hope that his last Pokemon can deal with that Venusaur.
Yeah, absolutely. And Skarmory probably a big choice for King here.
Yeah.
Definitely something to hold on to for that Venusaur. If not in this match, then at least in the next one.
Here we go, Rock Slide coming out. Both of these Deoxys falling quite low. No shields committed yet this early on in the game. There's another attack coming out. This might be a good time to shield for King's End, but looks like he might actually choose up to not shield here. Gonna be a Psycho Boost, actually. Wow, nice call.
By King, and now committing to his own Psycho Boost. With just a little bit less HP on the side of Poke-AK. This one might actually be enough to KO.
Is it enough? Let's see. Oh, it looks like it is. Wow, and enough energy to potentially get another Rock Slide or Psycho Boost off. Poke-AK certainly does not want to bring that Venusaur out. Oh, actually, never mind. Looks like the energy wasn't shown there before, but it's building up, and it gets the knockout there. And there's the Skarmory, like you mentioned. So we saw that earlier. Yeah, that's ideal definitely to have up against this Venusaur.
Poke-AK immediately switching to that Azumarill. King looking for the switch to Swampert as well, but actually committing to Sky Attack here.
actually ends up missing one, so won't be an excellent attack off there. Doesn't do as much damage there against the Azumarill. Once again, these players are playing on iPads, so maybe not the phone screens that they're used to playing Pokemon Go PvP traditionally on.
Yeah, definitely introduces a new level of difficulty as these players have to adapt to a different size of screen, different inputs.
King this time will finally commit that first shield. Wouldn't be surprised to see Azumarill go for a shield now. You really don't want to lose it before the Venusaur comes out. You want to be able to knock out the Skarmory ideally. And a switch out here actually into the Swampert. But Venusaur may... that's a great switch because you need to conserve the Skarmory for the Venusaur. If not, the Swampert most definitely will lose the 1v1. But that's the last shield now out from Swampert.
Good switch by King, actually trying to get some damage off on this Azumarill before PokeAK's switch timer comes up. Of course, there it is. And Venusaur's back. King now stuck in this matchup as his switch timer continues to count down.
Oh, that's a frenzy plan. That's most certainly going to be a knockout. So super effective there against the Swampert. So here it is. Now Skarmory might be able to close this one out. Gonna have to eat up a charge move from the Venusaur, but we know that Venusaur's charge moves don't do much damage at all. That frenzy plant really only doing around 10-15% or so. And for now, King might actually want to not use... Oh, he doesn't use a charge move, but he has to eat up another charge move now from the Venusaur.
He's going to be holding on for dear life with very little HP left, but he might actually have enough energy charged up to finish off this Azumarill, although one shield left on the side of PokeAK. Does King have enough energy for 2 charge moves in a row?
It looks like Azumarill's going to just get the Ice Beam off anyway, and there it is. Wow. So PokeAK taking that first one in what I felt like the classic starter matchup, right? Swampert against Venusaur. Obviously, Swampert loses that every time, and even though King had obviously Pokemon to deal with the Venusaur in both the Deoxys and the Skarmory, because he was forced to make that first switch early on, that gave PokeAK the advantage in terms of switching.
Right, really started off that battle in favor of PokeAK, and he was able to carry that momentum throughout the rest of the match.
Very exciting to see how this plays out. I think King certainly will want to reconsider leading with the Swampert. Obviously, that's the worst matchup possible in PvP here for both trainers. So probably going to want to swap it up a little bit, maybe keep it in the back. Swampert, of course, still a pretty good Pokemon, but it's one that has really little effectiveness against Venusaur because Venusaur just does so much damage with its Grass-type attacks. Maybe even not bringing Swampert, that certainly could be an adjustment as well, but going to have to be a little bit more careful with the Swampert in general because he knows how strong Venusaur is. And I feel like Venusaur has really been the MVP for PokeAK today.
Absolutely. And with the team composition of PokeAK here, that Swampert actually might not be the best Pokemon. So let's see if King adjusts for that. Leaves the Swampert in the bag this time. Let's see which Pokemon these trainers choose to lead with heading into match number 2.
Here we go, match number 2 of Winners Finals. The loser will, of course, still make it to Losers Finals, so not out by any means, but we'll see if King can bring this back. And oh, that is definitely a nice adjustment. Skarmory has the lead this time instead of the Venusaur in a phenomenal position to start the game.
Let's see how quickly PokeAK commits to the switch here. Looks like he's going to leave that Venusaur in just long enough to charge up some energy. Of course, switching out just in time to avoid the Sky attack from the Skarmory. King now following with a switch of his own to avoid that super effective damage from Lantern's electric type attacks. Umbreon coming in, charging up towards that foul play.
Yeah, I think King definitely having the better end this time, though. I feel like the lead matchup have really dictated the early game, kind of forcing switches and allowing your opponent to get a better switch. An excellent foul play goes off there as well, so looks like another one will be able to knock out the Lantern. Both Pokemon just trading fast moves right now. We'll see if the Umbreon decides to commit to a shield here.
Looks like no shield on the side of the Umbreon.
Oh!
Gonna deal a ton of damage despite how defensive that Umbreon is.
Tremendous amount of damage there onto King's Umbreon, but I think King just really wants to be able to knock out the Lantern right now because that obviously gets super effective attacks off against the Skarmory and is actually able to pick up the knockout. So that's a major threat out the way. He knows that Skarmory is going to be able to win the 1v1 against Venusaur even with shields available. So obviously the goal now is just to knock out this Deoxys.
Deoxys coming in, finishing off that Umbreon very quickly with counter. And now, of course, Deoxys versus Deoxys. We've seen this one before. Again, the difference here being Rock Slide versus Thunderbolt.
I feel like
does have some energy already ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I feel like King definitely maybe has a slight advantage there, though, because obviously it's a mirror match right now. They're both relatively healthy, but Skarmory is going to win against Venusaur pretty much all the time. So they're both going to just be trading shields here. I mean, for PokeAK to win, he really wants to be able to have better answers against the Skarmory, and that's mainly through the Thunderbolt that he has on his Deoxys. But that means he has to keep Deoxys around.
Right, and that adjustment by King to bring Skarmory instead of Swampert really made a huge difference in this match, especially right in the lead-off.
Here we go. So we actually see the switch out. Yeah, PokeAK wanting to conserve the Skarmory because he knows it's got the Thunderbolt specifically to deal with the Skarmory, but now he can't switch, and this is exactly what Skarmory wants, to be in against Venusaur. Venusaur can't really do any damage off against Skarmory. He'll just be able to knock it out consistently, even just through its fast moves.
Even with that one shield left for PokeAK, King knows that he can take this Frenzy Plant, it's not going to deal a ton of damage, and he can finish off Venusaur just with the fast moves and have lots of energy saved up for Deoxys.
Yeah, absolutely. Now has all the energy, like you mentioned. The shields have already been committed, and he's still got the Deoxys in the back for himself as well. So Kane definitely in a very good position. Finally baits out that last shield. It's a 2v1 now, but with no shields on either end and 2 Pokemon on King's end, including his own Deoxys, feels like he should be able to take this one.
Yep, luckily able to get that Sky Attack off before PokeAK's Deoxys charged up Thunderbolt. Looks like we might see Thunderbolt before it goes down.
Let's see. No shields remaining, so should be able to get at least one of its 2 charge moves off. Might be a Psycho Boost coming out. Looks like it will be the Psycho Boost. Is it enough to get the knockout? Oh, it is. But Deoxys is, of course, going to come out from King's End, and with enough health, certainly will be able to get the knockout with any charge move, just going for a Psycho Boost right now. So the adjustment, the lead really made all the difference here. The fact that PokeAK went with Venusaur again, King kind of called that, went with his own Skarmory. Big deal in this matchup.
Yep, really shows you the importance of choosing the right lead. And again, in a format where there's no team preview, sometimes it's tough to make that choice.
Yep.
And now going into this third battle, let's see how these players adjust based on what they've seen from those first 2.
Yeah, and I think if anything, that game highlights how Venusaur can be very ineffective if Swampert's not in the game. And I love the dynamic of these matchups because we see them in competitive VGC as well all the time, where now you go into like the next game and you're like, okay, if I don't expect them to bring the Swampert, I'm not going to bring Venusaur. And whoever makes the right call there obviously has the advantage, right? Like, a lot of the times you end up seeing the Swampert coming out and you're like, oh, now I gave up my best answer to it. I don't have anything to deal with it at all. So it's like, do you want to risk having the best answer against one of the best Pokemon on your opponent's team, or do you make the call that they're not going to bring it?
Right.
Really tough decision to make.
Incredibly difficult. And again, comes back to team building. Having enough answers to these big threats to make these choices. Very important. So the competition starts long before the battle, and these players have chosen some very, very strong Pokemon to bring today.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to see how this plays out. It's definitely been an intense game. You can tell that these guys are really, really good at competitive PvP, and some really nice adjustments by King. So going into a third game like this is always interesting because it's like you could lead Skarmory again for King's End, but maybe you call it he's going to switch up his lead and go with something else. Actually, a Deoxys coming out this time around.
Deoxys versus Azumarill. Interesting adjustments by both players, and also I'm very interested to see what else they've chosen to bring behind these 2 lead Pokemon.
I really want to know if Swampert and the Venusaur make an appearance here, but Deoxys here going to get its first charge move off, will be that Psycho Boost. Excellent from King there. Does a sizable amount of damage. We can see how defensive Azumarill is, actually taking that quite well, and a switch out immediately actually into King's own Azumarill.
Perfect timing with the switch there, just as PokeAK's Azumarill charged up for that Hydro Pump, able to tank some of that damage.
Ooh, but the Lantern, and of course now this Azumarill is kind of locked in, can't really switch out. Lantern with the super effective electric type attacks will be able to potentially knock it out should King not go for the shields. Gonna be a play rough coming out for now. Let's see if there's a shield coming out from PokeAK's end. No shield.
Good amount of damage there from that same type attack bonus on the play rough. As PokeAK continues to charge up, here comes that charge attack. King deciding not to shield.
Oh, there's a Thunderbolt. That's just a knockout there. Surprising to kind of see that, but potentially wanting to conserve the shield specifically for the Deoxys. Lantern is a really major threat to the Skarmory in the back, but it's doing a lot of damage right now with its fast moves. Deoxys falls so low already.
Yeah, that Water Gun is a very, very strong fast move. So great choice by PokeAK to bring that instead of Charge Beam on that Lantern.
Retaliating with a Psycho Boost of his own. Let's see if there's a shield coming out from PokeAK's end right now. No shield. That will get the knockout. That's actually a really pivotal knockout because Lantern is so good against the Skarmory in the back.
Yeah, King now knows that Skarmory is pretty safe heading into this next matchup. And against Altaria, another matchup that Skarmory can potentially win.
This is definitely anyone's game right now. Shield pressure certainly on. It's going to be an excellent rock slide here from the Deoxys, and the shield comes out there from the Altaria. So pivotal shield from it right now. Oh, whoa! That was a double switch.
Both players choosing to switch at the same time.
Really impressive decision making there. Skarmory, however, right now actually in a really good position, especially by being able to get the Sky Attack off. It's done a lot of damage already to Azumarill. Altaria is quite low as well. Altaria doesn't have the best matchup. There's the last shield there from Poké. King still has the shield advantage, so it feels like King definitely in a prime spot right now to win this one, especially with this last shield and Skarmory having such a good matchup against the Azumarill and the Altaria.
Yep, shielding that Hydro Pump, avoiding a lot of damage there, and almost ready to let this last Sky Attack fly. Might not be enough damage to KO, but the next few quick moves should finish off the Azumarill.
There it is, there's the damage, and just enough to get the knockout with the excellent boost there. So Altaria coming out, but Altaria's Dragon Breath obviously not the best attack here to have against the Skarmory. No shields remaining out from King's End, so see if he decides to stay in and maybe eat a potential Dragon Pulse. It is going to stay in, and sizable damage there, but going to be able to retaliate back with an attack of its own.
Charging up that Sky Attack, ready to fire some damage off, hits all those targets. Excellent damage.
It's going to be a close one. Will Altaria be able to pull this one off? Let's see. Oh, actually going for the switch into Deoxys to eat up this charge move. That was an excellent display of skill.
Wow, using that Deoxys as a sort of final shield to keep his Skarmory alive just long enough to charge up.
Oh, but he still gets the knockout.
Wow.
The Altaria came through with the Dragon Breath, like you mentioned, one of the highest damage per dealing attacks for these fast moves. And wow, it looked like he was going to be able to pull it off, but Altaria's base damage was just so good, even though the Skarmory resists it.
Yeah, definitely surprised.
What a nice move to make, though, right? I think this is one thing you were talking about earlier, what that trainers can certainly do, being able to switch out, use kind of something as the last attempt, eat up these high energy attacks, be able to switch back in, and then deal with it. If Skarmory were just a little bit healthier, it would have worked out perfectly.
Absolutely, and definitely shows the importance of keeping track of your Pokemon's energy. That Deoxys, unfortunately, didn't have enough energy charged up to use one of its charge moves there. Had King maybe left the Skarmory in, could have taken a little bit more damage, maybe baited one more charge attack from Poké, and then brought that Deoxys in to finish off Altaria with that Rock Slide.
Yep.
So, interesting to see how that worked out. Let's see if King adjusts. Let's see if Swampert comes back in this next battle.
Yeah, in that last game, neither Swampert nor Venusaur ended up coming out, and there it is. The Swampert makes an appearance, doesn't have to go up against the Venusaur lead this time around. Quite nice, being able to get some quick damage off across the board. Obviously wants to charge up that Hydro Cannon. Skarmory is going to make the switch though, and there's the Lantern actually. Oh, eating up the Hydro Cannon. Nice switch.
Yeah, Poké timing that switch perfectly. Very aware of how long it takes that Swampert to charge up to Hydro Cannon, charging up some energy before switching in the Lantern.
Really being able to kind of trade damage right now. Of course, Lantern can switch out, but you can imagine might want to potentially use a shield. Right now, it's actually the Lantern going for an attack, opting for a Thunderbolt, and it's not going to be very effective, but still some pretty good damage. Swampert retaliating, though, looks like with an Earthquake of its own, so we'll see if Poké decides to shield this one. If not, certainly will be a knockout.
King gets through for super effective damage, and might just be able to charge up enough energy for one more Hydro Cannon before this Swampert faints. Let's see what Poké sends in. It's Venusaur.
All right.
Of course, probably the worst thing for that Swampert in that situation.
No Skarmory this time around, though, which is interesting. We saw the Azumarill and the Deoxys on King's End, but obviously Deoxys does have that super effective Psycho Boost. An excellent switch out there into Skarmory to eat up this Psycho Boost. Will be able to resist, of course, the second type attack because of Skarmory's Steel typing. That does really no damage at all, but of course now King can take advantage of this. Poké is stuck with his Skarmory. He's going to be able to swap out into his Azumarill.
Yeah, excellent switch timing by Poké. Really just showing his mastery of paying attention to the opponent and being aware of where their energy charge level is at.
And one thing that's interesting to note, both players still have their shields left up as well, so it's whoever ends up making the right decisions on shielding here will be really important. Is there going to be a shield that comes out here? No shield, and look how much damage that does against Skarmory.
Wow, both of these players saving those shields for the late game. Azumarill here going for another Ice Beam, unable to get that off for Skarmory. King still, oh, does commit the shield there. Good choice. That Flash Cannon would have dealt a ton of damage to Azumarill.
Oh, and he's going to be able to retaliate with an Ice Beam of his own. Looks like he wasn't able to connect on most of those, actually. Not sure what was happening there. And he still gets the knockout. Oh, actually, potentially doing that on purpose.
Yeah, I think he's just aware of exactly how much damage that Ice Beam was going to deal,
yeah,
regardless
exactly.
of how well he charged it up. And now, of course, able to get off one more Ice Beam against the Venusaur.
So you gotta have a shield out here. Yeah, I was gonna say, otherwise it would just take so much damage. But now you have the Deoxys. You still have a shield left on Deoxys' end. You've got the super effective Psycho Boost. So this might go to a Game 5. This is really close, but Venusaur's taking quite a lot of damage already. And thing is, obviously Deoxys has such a good attack out. No shields remaining left though, so this is a big opportunity for a Frenzy Plant off against the Deoxys, but don't think you'll be enough to get the knockout. That is a lot of damage though.
Yeah, and with that one shield left for PokeAK, this could make all the difference here. Avoiding the damage from the Psycho Boost. Gonna be able to charge up another Frenzy Plant pretty quickly, as Vine Whip does charge energy very quickly.
Let's see, is there enough energy? Who gets the first attack off? Oh, it looks like it's actually going to be Venusaur. That means there's no Psycho Boost onto the Venusaur. That's most certainly going to lock out the Deoxys without the shield. Azumarill going to come back out, but is it able to do enough? Let's see, it looks like Venusaur, oh, it's so close, but it gets the knockout, and Venusaur will be able to take the game. Wow.
Amazing, amazing display of skill from these two battlers here.
I mean, the switches were just phenomenal in this one. I feel like really, really high level switches. You do need to be switching, I think, at that point, right? But I mean, wow, that was... King really did an incredible job as well, though. I really thought it was going to go to a Game 5 there. And ultimately, conserving that last shield so that Deoxys couldn't get those super effective Psycho Boosts off are absolutely critical. Like, in this game, you want to be shielding, obviously, the super effective attacks all the time. And being able to eat up those attacks with Venusaur was huge. I thought not having Skarmory obviously made it a little bit trickier for King's End as well.
Yeah, absolutely. In that last match, that Swampert versus Skarmory really made the difference, but I really want to give some credit to PokeAK for his switch timing.
Yeah.
We saw some incredible switches, really keeping track of where King's energy level was so that he could switch at the perfect time to avoid damage, avoid using shields, and that really made a huge difference in having that shield left at the end of the match to avoid damage from that Deoxys Psycho Boost.
Absolutely. So phenomenal play from PokeAK. He's only dropped one game. King's the only one to even take a game off him. He is 9-1 right now. We'll be advancing on to the Grand Finals, but of course we've still got multiple games in the losers bracket for you before we throw it back to the Grand Finals. So, a couple games left. Looks like we've got Strawberry and Morimoto still playing in first spot in the loser semifinals. Winner of that will play Karime. Winner of that will advance on to play King, and that accumulates in the Grand Finals. So you still got at least 4 sets left, maybe 5 if the losers finals winner is able to beat PokeAK in the first set.
Yeah, King is not out of it yet, so we could see potentially a rematch between King and PokeAK.
Yep.
It'll be really interesting to see if those players are able to adjust based on those first 4 battles that they just had.
It has been a long tournament though, and I feel like we're still seeing new things featured, kind of new skills that these players are using. I'm expecting definitely the Grand Finals to be a great show, but obviously all these other matches to be great shows as well. That winner's final, certainly very, very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of depth to Pokemon Go PvP that maybe is not apparent on the surface, you know, in your initial look at the game, but there's so much you can do with switching, with timing, with saving shields, with shield baiting, saving those charge moves for the right time. There's really a lot of depth that goes into this gameplay. And
I think we've seen a lot of it highlighted throughout the course of this tournament, so very, very happy, obviously, to see that. And hopefully, for those of you guys watching at home, give some perspective on how there's a lot more to this game than what people kind of just think is clicking your screen as quick as possible. Because
absolutely,
yes, that's part of the game, but there's actually so much more. And there's a reason why the players who have won the matches have won.
Absolutely, and especially with these new charge attack minigames, introduces a new element of technical skill. As we've seen, a lot of players miss really key targets and miss dealing that excellent damage in today's tournament.
Absolutely, so here we go. It's going to be Strawberry against Mr. Morimoto here in the losers bracket. Quick switch out into the mug as both players actually opt to switch out immediately, so Both of them, obviously, with their switch timers counting down right now, can't pull any switches, but I think Skarmory, definitely a Pokemon that loves to be in front of Muk, being able to avoid those poison type attacks, but Thunder Punch actually a big attack that it's going to have to avoid.
Yeah, great recent addition to Muk's moves there, and definitely one that it wants to carry, especially in a matchup like this against Skarmory.
Absolutely. So here we go. It's going to be the first Sky attack. Shields traded from both trainers. That's already one down. Muk is going to go for another charge attack, of course. Have to be worried about that Thunder Punch, but you never want to commit your shields this early on. It is going to be the Thunder Punch. It is going to be the shield. So early advantage for Mr. Morimoto in terms of getting out shields, but the Muk, of course, is falling dangerously low in terms of its health.
Right, and despite having the typing advantage here, because that Muk is carrying Thunder Punch, it's able to get both of those shields from Strawberry 17 and put her at a quick disadvantage.
So kind of an early game. In the last game, it felt like we were seeing these shields come out really until the end game, but here, all the shields committed so early on. Thunder Punch will do a hefty amount there. And the switch timers actually have reset, and a double switch!
Both players switch at the same time.
Oh, but that's amazing for Strawberry as the Lantern comes out. Definitely has the typing advantage here.
Especially with both shields down.
Yeah.
Both of these players, a Hydro Pump connecting with that Bastiodon is going to deal a ton of damage.
Excellent call here. Looks like Bastiodon will be able to get its first attack off, though will be the Stone Edge, so getting a ton of damage off before potentially fainting here from the Lantern. But wow, pretty cool to see that double switch. That's not something we've seen too often so far.
Yeah, definitely worked out in the favor of Strawberry 17 here. Of course, she is running Charge Beam as opposed to Water Gun, which could make a huge difference if she's not able to get this next Hydro Pump.
Well, let's see who gets it off first. Okay, it will be Lantern. That is absolutely huge. And like you mentioned, really, really critical decision in terms of which fast move she wanted to use. But because she was able to get the switch advantage, gets that quick knockout. And with no shields, this game is really just about hyper offense right now, just kind of blowing holes through your opponent. But Muk comes out, the Lantern will faint. And, I mean, Skarmory and Venusaur, obviously, with grass-type attacks, can't do too much to Muk, but the Muk is already quite low with no shields left. Any charge move potentially can just knock it out.
Right, good choice by Strawberry 17 to bring in the Venusaur here, finish off that Muk without committing to a charge move, and now has energy saved up. Interestingly, though, this Venusaur is not carrying Frenzy Plant, so it looks like she might have missed that Bulbasaur Community Day, and we'll really see a difference in how quickly Venusaur is able to use
Oh, so Thunder doesn't get the knockout. Of course, we saw the Linoon as Thunder and Grass Knot. Neither of those doing very much damage to Venusaur. Hangs on with the Sliver of HP. The Sludge Bomb should be enough to knock out the Linoon. Strawberry taking this game in. Wow, I feel like the switches in this game, very high level as well. I mean, being able to bring in the Lantern right when the Bastiodon came out, absolutely huge.
Yeah, perfect timing on the switches. Maybe even a little bit of luck there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's...
kind of a blind switch.
Yeah, absolutely. Paying off perfectly, though, and... it doesn't get any better than there. Obviously, if the Lantern had Water Gun, that would really be super ideal. But to be able to have a powered attack that does so much damage for super effective damage, even though it didn't get the knockout, obviously gave her a quick lead. And we kind of missed the beginning of the game, but she was able to already get some quick damage off against the Linoon to the point where once the shields were out, she was able to just kind of sweep away with what she had.
Right, and with those shields going down so early on both sides, that really opens up the field for big attacks like Hydro Pump, which deals a ton of damage. And with no shields left, of course, no way to prevent that.
All right, here we go into game 2. This time around, leads are going to be a little bit different. It's actually going to be the Haunter lead, something that Strawberry has definitely prioritized throughout the course of this tournament against the Skarmory. Once again, as we mentioned, Skarmory being a lot tankier, whereas Haunter a little bit more offensive. You expect to maybe see some shields earlier on in the game. Don't want to take too much damage from the Shadow Punch, and no shield come out there, and look at how much damage it does there.
Quick switch following up.
Ooh.
Skarmory versus Skarmory now. Again, very popular matchup. Mr. Morimoto does have charge attack ready to go. Strawberry 17 choosing not to shield. And of course, not very effective damage. So as these Skarmory continue to trade attacks back and forth, we shouldn't see too much of a surprise. Maybe Mr. Morimoto commits a shield here, and he does.
Oh, he does, yeah. It's funny kind of seeing the kind of Skarmory versus Skarmory dynamic because you don't want to be shielding, but it's still important because otherwise the opponent's Skarmory is just going to come out with so much more HP on top.
Right, you really want to, kind of understand your opponent's team composition and figure out how important that Skarmory is to counter any potential Pokemon that might be coming out later in the match.
There's a switching into Muk, kind of an interesting switching because he still could take potentially a lot of damage from the Skarmory's charge moves here. Looks like going for the Sky attack. As Mr. Morimoto doesn't go for the shield attack, he will commit his second shield, but once again, those both shields down very, very early on in the game, and depending on Strawberry's last one, could be very detrimental. This time around, going to avoid a Thunder Punch here from the Muck. So shields have been used on both players' ends, but it feels like right now Strawberry definitely has the slight advantage because of the damage that's been done to the opposing Skarmory and this upcoming Charge Sky attack.
A few of those targets get away from her there and reduces the damage just a bit as she looks for another switch. Venusaur comes in to finish off this Muck, just like the last battle.
And I like that a lot. You know, you get some extra energy onto the Venusaur, which has some really, really powerful attacks, can get some heavy offense off end. We've seen the Linoon's moveset. It really can't do too much with the Grass Knot nor the Thunder, so Strawberry is perfectly content with the fact that she has no shields right now. Going to be able to get a an excellent Sludge Bomb off as well, actually. And that's enough to get the knockout. Excellent, excellent job by her.
Tons of damage. Strawberry 17 in an amazing position here. No shields remaining, but 3 Pokemon left on her side of the field.
Yeah, the Venusaur will fall down, but pretty free switching for Haunter just to, you know, click a bunch of times, and that should be able to get the knockout. I mean, I think really nice job of her to get the shields out earlier on because she knew that Venusaur had a pretty good... Like, she considered Venusaur to the point where it could kind of sweep the game. She was able to get a lot of damage off against Skarmory, knew that Linoon couldn't do very much against it, and then Muck was quite low as well. So even though Muck and Skarmory are Pokemon that typically can do quite well against Venusaur, because she was able to kind of chip away at them, Venusaur is at a point where it could just do whatever it wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. Smart play by Strawberry. Even despite not having Frenzy Plant on that Venusaur, it's been able to make some really impressive plays, especially against that Linoon twice in a row.
Yeah.
So let's see if Mr. Morimoto adjusts or if he sticks with that favorite Pokemon of his.
Yeah, I feel like for Mr. Morimoto, it will be tough to bring in the Linoon. It has very good matchups against certain things, but something like Venusaur can just stay in front of it and take no damage while getting destroyed by Venusaur's attack. So it's one of those Pokemon where made a lot of sense against some of the earlier teams we saw, obviously the ones that were prioritizing both the Zoomer on Skarmory, and actually Strawberry's team does have both of those. Maybe that's why he's bringing on the Linoon, but hasn't been able to do very much in these last couple of matches. If anything, he's going to at least need to knock out the Venusaur before bringing Linoon out.
Right, definitely wants to adjust his game plan to prepare for that Venusaur, especially if he wants to keep running this Linoon.
All right, match point right now for Strawberry, who has had some really, really impressive games so far throughout the course of the tournament. And Linoon's out once again, okay, but this time actually not the worst matchup. Does have that super effective Grass Knot against the Lantern.
Yeah, definitely going to be able to charge up to that Grass Knot really quickly. Strawberry 17 going for the switch early, just in time to not need to shield here.
Phenomenal switch there. Comes in. First of all, brings out the ideal Pokemon against the Linoon to begin with, but also eats up the attack for free, so it doesn't have to commit a shield. However, that will mean that Mr. Morimoto will be able to bring in something, and now this Venusaur actually really doesn't have many options. It really can't switch out. Could commit the shields if it chooses to, but this is going to be tough. Sludge Bomb will be able to come off first, of course, not doing too much damage against Muck, which is Poison type. Only great damage there as well.
Mr. Morimoto does commit the shield, but does have a charge attack ready to go.
Yep.
Should be enough to finish off this Venusaur.
All right, let's see if there is a shield. No shield comes out. Venusaur goes down. That actually might pave the way for Linoon. So nicely done this time around to bring it, but to kind of play the strategy a little bit differently, knocking out the Venusaur. Exactly what we were saying going into this game.
Of course, this Muck does have Thunder Punch ready to go. Skarmory not going to use a shield here, taking quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage, and this Skarmory is falling down definitely pretty quickly. Gonna get the Sky attack off here. We'll do definitely a hefty amount of damage. Another great attack. Like you mentioned, actually, a lot of excellence being missed today, and a great shield there to block out the attack, meaning that the Muck will be able to retaliate with yet another Thunder Punch. Maybe even a potential Poison type attack if he wants to bait out the shield. Looks like it is just going to go hit the Thunder Punch, though.
With 2 shields left, Strawberry 17 should be able to stay in this match long enough to finish off the Muck. And now has enough energy charged up to fire off the Sky attack immediately against Mr. Mario.
Nice job to not bring in the Linoon. Could be tempting, obviously, because of Linoon's super effective Thunder, but instead ends up bringing Bastiodon, which is such a beefy wall against this Skarmory. Of course, potential to switch into Lantern is definitely there, but this Bastiodon is fully charged up his attacks, like you mentioned. No bubble in the Lantern means that the fast move's doing slightly less damage, but the upside, there are no shields left on Mr. Morimoto's end, so this will be a big Hydro Pump. We saw earlier, though, it won't knock out this Bastiodon. Oh, so close.
Had Strawberry hit all those targets, it might have done a little bit extra damage.
Yeah.
Mr. Morimoto opting not to switch in the Linoon. Using the Stone Edge on the Lantern here.
Still one shield left for Strawberry. This is going to definitely be really close, but Linoon obviously has super effective attacks. He doesn't even need the super effective tabs away for the line. Oh, it actually gets the knockout onto Lantern first.
Just in time, as Mr. Morimoto now has enough energy to fire off a charge move immediately, getting that last shield from Strawberry here.
Oh, this is definitely going to be a close one. Skarmory will be able to... Oh, it's doing so little damage with its fast moves, though. All right, let's see. It's got one of them charged up. Is it going to commit the Sky Attack? Strawberry doesn't want to use it, wants to save it for the Linoon. And, oh, we'll be able to get the Flash Cannon off here, but of course that is going to expand a fair amount of energy.
Right, that's going to cost her all of her energy, as opposed to using that Sky Attack a little bit earlier, and now Linoon should finish off Skarmory right away.
Very, very nicely done there for Mr. Morimoto, and definitely a tough game for Strawberry there. He did exactly what he needed to. He knocked out the Venusaur early on, got it trapped in a position, kind of baited it out. It came out, got the knockout onto it, and then suddenly Linoon was in a position to sweep. He didn't actually even end up using the Linoon to close it out, but the Bastiodon Linoon combination was perfect for what Strawberry had on her side.
Right, great adjustments by Mr. Morimoto to avoid the sweep there. Finally getting some use out of that Linoon, which has proved to be a great Pokemon for him coming into this matchup here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's the only player even running the Linoon in the tournament, but I think it's definitely proven its worth with these super effective attacks. You can kind of see, though, where it falters, right? You need to play very well with it because there are certain things that just wall it completely with something like Venusaur, for example. So it's going to be Linoon once again, actually, against Hunter.
Yeah, great lead matchup for Mr. Morimoto here, as that Linoon's Shadow Claw is really going to take big chunks out of that Haunter's HP.
All right, once again, kind of baiting out the switch, but Linoon now might be in a position to switch out. We might kind of just see the same situation where you get the knockout onto Venusaur, and then Linoon could potentially just sweep the game. So it's really putting in work right now, and these switches so pivotal, especially with that 1-minute timer, kind of forcing the early switches there. So leading Haunter into a Shadow Claw Linoon, definitely not ideal.
Yeah, great play by Mr. Morimoto there, forcing that switch and now having the advantage again in this matchup here versus Venusaur.
All right, let's see. Baiting out a early shield. Oh, misses one there. Yeah, it's really been hard to hit the excellence today, I think, especially because these players are playing on iPads, so definitely a kind of different dynamic than what they might be used to. And oh, the Muck will get the knockout onto Venusaur, and once again, two Pokemon that don't have the best matchup against Linoon. Shadow Claw doing a hefty amount through just the fast moves, and of course the Thunder for the Skarmory that we saw in Strawberry's end. And
no matter what the Muck chooses here, it's a good choice to shield that attack, because that Haunter does not have the highest defensive stats, so it would have taken a big chunk of damage.
All right, here it is. Big attack from the Linoon. Should do a ton of damage to Haunter, which is not exactly the bulkiest Pokemon. Oh my goodness, he just gets the knockout there. Really impressive damage. Really just trying to build up to that last Thunder. Of course, Mr. Morimoto still has one Pokemon in the back as well. Wants to kind of build some energy up there. Take the Sky Attack, and wonderful switch there from Mr. Morimoto.
Great timing to bring that Bastiodon in. Does not even need to shield. Really just running away with the match here. In a great position to finish it out. Close it out. He's got Flamethrower on that Bastiodon. He's got one shield left. He's got Linoon with Thunder. I don't see him losing this match.
Yeah, definitely not. And we're going to go to a Game 5, which I'm really excited about because it felt like Strawberry had full control of this set earlier on. Mr. Morimoto figured out, this is how I beat your Venusaur. I need to bait you in, knock it out with my Muck, and then Linoon kind of really just paves the way for victory here. Still a shield even remaining. Going to be a big charge move here from Bastiodon that should be able to get the knockout, so we should be going to a final last game. Doesn't actually quite get the knockout there, but we'll be able to finish it off. And here we go. We're going to go down to a final Game 5 between these two players. Winner moves on, losers eliminated.
And definitely not a position that is new for Strawberry 17.
Yeah.
In her first round against Yamada, she did come out of the gate 2-0.
Yep.
Yamada came back, took 2 games, and we went to a Game 5. So let's see if she learned a little bit from that first round and can apply that and keep cool under the pressure here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, kind of just looking at her team, I don't think she can fall in the same trap. And a lot of this has been dictated by poor lead matchups. Because she's had poor lead matchups, she's been forced to switch into the Venusaur so early on. And that's what Mr. Morimoto's kind of been baiting out. He's been trying to get the Venusaur in so that the Muck can come out and then just knock it out, because it looks like Muck has a pretty good advantage against the Venusaur. Venusaur's Grass and Poison type attacks don't do very much. This time actually leading right out with the Venusaur actually pays off quite nicely as Linoon is the lead.
Yeah, we're going to have to see an early switch from Mr. Morimoto here, unless he wants to commit to... There it goes.
Yep, there's the switch.
Brings in the Muck. Of course, that gives Strawberry the advantage.
Oh, that is so nice for Strawberry. Definitely playing this a little bit differently, kind of risking the Venusaur switch in early on, or leading with it, but it pays off quite nicely. This time around, she's got something that could potentially knock out the Muck. Here's the Thunder Punch coming out. Doesn't do too much damage. No shield committed there.
Not too much damage at all, and of course, she is going to have to build up a lot of energy to fire off these Hydro Pumps or Thunders. And Mr. Morimoto does have 2 shields left, so this might not turn out to be the best matchup.
Yeah, this is kind of tough actually, because Muck is just getting these charge moves way faster, and of course, Mr. Morimoto does have his shields as well. So you'd imagine he's probably going to want to shield this attack. It's a very high power but high energy attack. Oh, does get the excellent. Is there a shield? Yes, there is. Excellent shield there from Mr. Morimoto.
Great call to shield there. And again, this really just shows the importance of choosing moves with low energy costs, especially early in the game like this. This Lantern is not able to connect with any of these charge moves.
Yeah, this is the 3rd charge move already from Muck's end, and that's really tough because it's already doing so much consistent damage. So even though that was a nice switch in, because Lantern was so high powered with such high energy attacks, actually really not the best end of the trade-off there for Strawberry. Skarmory is out now, but that's an excellent switch in into the Bastiodon.
Mr. Morimoto expecting that Skarmory, bringing that Bastiodon every game so far, and it's really paid off.
You can kind of see the dynamic of the matchups. He's brought the same Pokemon, but he's kind of played it a little bit differently, and each of these check specific things, right? The Bastiodon obviously beats the Skarmory, the Muck kind of beats the Venusaur. You need to get the right things in the right times. Venusaur is going to come out, is going to use the final shield out here for Strawberry, but that's really kind of not the ideal position to be in, obviously, because there's still 3 Pokemon on Mr. Morimoto's end, and he has a shield remaining, so can still block a potential Grass-type attack like a Solar Beam from this Venusaur.
Again, showing the importance of getting those Community Day moves. That she had Frenzy Plant, she might have been able to use it twice in the time that it took her to charge up to that Solar Beam, which of course Mr. Morimoto just blocked with his last shield.
Yeah, and here we go with no shields remaining on Strawberry's end. It feels like Mr. Morimoto might be able to walk away with this game. Let's see, the Flamethrower here most certainly will knock out the Venusaur. It's Skarmory against the world right now. We'll be able to pull it off. It's going to be quite tough, especially with super effective attacks like Flamethrower from Bastiodon and the Thunder from that Linoon.
Strawberry 17 committing to that Sky Attack a little early there. Maybe could have charged a little bit more energy for the Flash Cannon. Not going to deal much damage at all to that Bastiodon, which now is free to use this Flamethrower and take the match.
That was a really incredible set. I mean, Mr. Morimoto pulled off the comeback, really, winning 3 games in a row, and he will be able to win and advance on in the losers bracket. So congratulations to Mr. Morimoto. But really excellent display of skill, I think, still from Strawberry. She played really, really well. And I felt like, if anything, maybe she would have wanted to consider bringing new Pokemon completely instead of kind of sticking with the same things, just swapping the positions of them. Because for the, majority of this match, it felt like both players were bringing the same Pokemon, just swapping the positions that they were bringing it in. Of course, she tried the Haunter, but that didn't work out too well for her.
Right, she was really relying on that Venusaur, which worked well in the first 2 battles, but once Mr. Morimoto figured out what he needed to do to take out that Venusaur early, it really just wasn't working as well in those later matches, and probably end up costing her the set.
I can't help but think, of course, she did have Medicham on her team. Medicham could have been an excellent Pokemon because you get the super effective power-up punches against both the Linoon and the Bastiodon. So in those kind of matchups, if you knock out whatever Pokemon is in those 2, then Medicham kind of just sweeps through the game afterwards. So I feel like ultimately this was kind of a game about adjustments. Both players made some small adjustments, but it's a little bit tough when you're not switching your Pokemon outright. But of course, those kind of moves are always a little bit risky as well. So a lot of credit to Strawberry. I thought she played really well, and I loved watching her play throughout the course of this tournament.
Right, and these matches are just going to get more and more intense as we move forward in our bracket.
All right, only a couple of matches remaining for you guys. Right now, we've got the loser semifinals against Mr. Morimoto and Karime. The winner of this will play King in the finals for losers bracket, and of course, the winner of that will advance on to the grand finals. If the loser, whoever is advancing with the losers bracket, will have to win 2 sets, I believe, in order to win the entire tournament. Poké, meanwhile, poised to be in a very strong position to win this, 9-1 right now, only dropping 1 game the entire tournament. Really excellent play throughout the course, really strong team. So we'll see if anyone can challenge him for the title in the grand finals.
Yeah, absolutely. Very excited to see some of these players make it this far in the tournament. And it really says a lot about their communities. These players have to practice a lot to compete at such a high level. So to have a nice community to play with, to compete with, to practice with, really important. especially here in Pokemon Go, a game that you really are interacting with people face-to-face very often, so it's important to go out and find your local community.
Yeah.
Especially if you're interested in PvP, go out and find those people to play with. Go out on Community Day.
Yeah.
Find someone, find your nearest park, and there's guaranteed to be a big group of local players there who are more than ready to embrace you and welcome you into the community.
I definitely want to ask you a little about the teams that we see, because there are only 4 players remaining in this tournament, so kind of your impressions, any surprises, because for the most part we've seen a lot of common stuff, obviously Skarmory, Azumarill, some Deoxys, for example. I think Mr. Morimoto definitely has probably the most unique team out of the teams that we've seen, but anything that's caught you off guard or anything that you think is really cool?
Definitely that Linoon.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm glad to see it still in the tournament and, really making waves. So we'll see that again in this next battle between Mr. Morimoto and Karime.
All right, this is definitely going to be a fun one. Linoon definitely being one of the MVPs of that team for Mr. Morimoto. Of course, Karime running a relatively standard team. The Tropius is something we mentioned, is a really cool Pokemon. It's quite strong, obviously. It gets access to a very good fast move and Razor Leaf, but is a little more rare to collect. So for that reason, we haven't seen it too much throughout the course of this tournament. Excited to see that make an appearance again as well. Here we go. It's that Magneton lead, actually. Oh, against Skarmory.
Wow. Looks like we might have a little bit of an issue here. Mr. Morimoto appears to have locked in the wrong Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was actually part of his initial pool of 6, so it was like, oh, Magneton, that's great, but yeah. So we'll see how they decide to resolve this, but Magneton definitely would have been a nice Pokemon in against Skarmory,
oh,
that's for sure.
Definitely a great Pokemon to use there. Unfortunately, not one of the Pokemon that he registered on his team of 6 before this tournament began.
Right. So as we figure that out, kind of just going back and talking about it, I feel like, yeah, Linoon's really cool. I think it's really cool to see 2 of the Community Day Pokemon in the Swampert and the Venusaur also put in so much work. And that Frenzy Plant obviously being so powerful. And I'm really glad we got to see the dynamic of those 2 Pokemon go up against each other as well, because they're the some of the classic starters that we're familiar with.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the most popular Pokemon. And again, some of the most popular Pokemon to use in Pokemon Go PvP.
Yep.
So definitely a matchup we'll see more of. As Pokemon Go PvP continues to evolve and grow, we have a really great grassroots scene right now, but to see the game represented here at the Pokemon World Championships is just a huge leap forward for Pokemon Go.
Right, I know we keep talking about it, but truly it is so exciting to finally be able to see some competitive PvP play, and hopefully you guys have been enjoying it, because there's definitely been a great demonstration of skill throughout some of these sets, especially those 5-game sets. Like, you can see the adjustments that players are making throughout the course of it. So really excited for this next one. We've only got a couple of ones left for you, but they are definitely going to be some of the best sets of today. I'm so excited for that grand finals, but here we go. It's going to actually be Linoon coming out this time around Skarmory, so we know the Linoon, of course, gets access to that super effective Thunder, but it's going to be a little bit more frail than the Skarmory that it's up against.
Yeah, definitely not the best matchup for that Linoon. It does have Thunder, unfortunately. Takes a lot of energy to use that Thunder.
Right.
And in a lead matchup like this, of course, Skarmory's going to have access to 2 shields.
So there is the first shield committed out for Linoon, as it's going to try to retaliate back with the Thunder, but like you mentioned, high energy cost. Most likely Karime will be going for the shields if he's aware that Linoon has Thunder. There is the shield. There
it is. Good shield by Karime. Still a little bit of energy left over on the Linoon. Mr. Morimoto is going to switch now to that Bastiodon. Let's see how Karime follows up. Looks like he's going to bring in Deoxys, of course, carrying Counter as a quick move.
I mean, one of the best switches you could have, obviously, Counter just doing so much damage with the quick move, and really able to take so little damage from this Deoxys is able to take so little damage, but actually baiting out the Psycho Boost there potentially. No shield coming out as well, so nice decision not to shield there for Mr. Morimoto.
Yeah, smart play by Mr. Morimoto. Again, this Deoxys is really going to rely on its quick move in this matchup. So a little bit of a risky switch to bring in Bastiodon, a Pokemon with a double weakness. But as this is the first game in this set, Mr. Morimoto not entirely familiar with Karime's team, so maybe something that he won't do in a future game.
There is the shield committed. Both shields now done for Mr. Morimoto, but of course he will be able to retaliate with a Stone Edge of his own, able to connect with all of them. Feels like the Rock one maybe definitely a little bit easier to connect with. Doesn't get the knockout though. Both shields have been committed from both sides at this point. Of course, Mr. Morimoto is down to 2 Pokemon, and his Linoon is quite low as well. And a charge move coming out from the Deoxys, very ideal here for Karime. Should be able to do a lot of damage, if not get the knockout. That is, the knockout onto Linoon.
Mr. Morimoto there should have been trying to get that Thunder off. He definitely had time to do that while that Skarmory was being sent in. You can queue up that charge attack while your opponent is choosing a new Pokemon.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a misplay there by Mr. Morimoto.
Going to be really tough to win that one now, and look how much damage Sky Attack from Skarmory is doing with no shields left, with 3 Pokemon on Carry and it feels like this game is all but over. But like you mentioned, yeah, it's you have to really be careful, I feel like, in Pokemon Go PvP to not get too greedy. Obviously, a lot of times you want to be able to get the knockout just through the quick or the fast moves, but if you wait too long, then you lose your Pokemon, you don't even get any of those attacks off, and all that energy just goes to waste.
Right, it ends up being very important. A great ability to keep track of your opponent's energy levels so that you know when you are safe to just finish a Pokemon off with quick moves as opposed to committing to a charge move.
Absolutely.
Of course, in that situation, things didn't work out very well. You end up wasting a lot of energy for almost no gain.
Right. So that will be the first game for Carry. Some really nice switches once again. I mean, the lead, once again, dictates so much of it, because if you force your opponent to switch out your lead, then you get to bring in a good Pokemon, and that's kind of exactly what we saw there. Lightning was pretty strong. Oh, and here's some adjustments, but not sure Poliwrath really has the best matchup against Deoxys.
Great Pokemon, a Pokemon that I really like in Pokemon Go PvP. And Mr. Morimoto going for that early power-up punch, trying to increase this Poliwrath's attack. But of course, Deoxys is going to be carrying Psycho Boost, which is going to deal super effective damage, while that power-up punch deals next to nothing.
Ooh, and a new Pokemon that we actually haven't seen on Mr. Morimoto's team yet, that Alolan Marowak definitely can hit the Deoxys for some pretty good damage.
Mr. Morimoto, unfortunately, not able to switch before that Deoxys fired off that charge attack there, but now with this Alolan Marowak, he should be able to deal a good amount of damage to the Deoxys.
Let's see, looks like actually going for the Thunderbolt there, committing both shields early on for Mr. Morimoto, and Azumarill, definitely an excellent Pokemon to have in against this Alolan Marowak. Obviously taking advantage of the fire typing on Alolan Marowak's side. Oh, doing so little damage there too.
Azumarill with that bubble really going to take this Alolan Marowak down quickly as Mr. Morimoto continues to charge up energy before committing to another Bone Club.
Let's see. Didn't do too much damage the first time around. Going to be an excellent attack. And wow, that Azumarill is just so tanky. Takes no damage from Bone Club, which is obviously a kind of a low energy attack, but very also low damage output attack.
Yeah, definitely lets you use the charge attack really, really frequently. But of course, as we're seeing here, not much damage output at all. Yeah,
with no shields remaining, most certainly will faint to any attack from this Azumarill. Going to go for that Hydro Pump. Marowak will go down now, and that's tough because Marowak is definitely one of the Pokemon you wanted to have against the Deoxys. Now Deoxys, of course, gets those Psycho Boosts off against the Poliwrath, and we saw the Bastiodon in the back for Mr. Morimoto. Obviously, the counters naturally just do a lot of damage there.
All right, and Skarmory now coming in against this Poliwrath, which does have enough energy ready for an Ice Punch. It's going to deal at least neutral damage and a little bit extra damage with Power-Up Punch, increasing that Poliwrath's attack stat. But Carry does have that shield there, and still has another shield left on top of that.
All right, let's see. Bastiodon is back out, but it is definitely feels like Carryman's game at this point. The shield's been committed way too early on for Mr. Morimoto, and Marowak, which was probably the best answer against the Deoxys, went down way too quickly. So Carryman really putting on a clinic right now. 3-1, gotten all the shields out. He's still got Deoxys, which can get those super effective counters off against the Bastiodon. Yep,
not looking good for Mr. Morimoto here. Carryman definitely fully in charge of this game here.
Absolutely. So kind of just waiting to see how things play out, but will be quite difficult. I feel like that's part of the problem with committing, obviously, with the shield so early on, and losing your best counter against Deoxys like that early on. Carryman hasn't even brought out the Deoxys at this point, but he's basically been saving it up this entire time, knowing that it can finish the game off.
There it is, coming out with those counters. Mr. Morimoto, unfortunately, no shields left. Psycho Boost not going to deal a ton of damage, but again, counter is really Deoxys' main source of damage against this Bastiodon.
Here we go, and Carryman will take these second games. 2-0 lead for Carryman. Really, really nice play. Kind of playing very, very nicely, especially with the Deoxys, but I feel like he's got this excellent defensive core with Deoxys, Azumarill, Skarmory. That's something we've seen a lot of in Go PvP, so nothing too surprising. And on the other side, for Mr. Morimoto, it feels like some of the more niche picks right now are kind of underperforming because they're just naturally weak to a lot of the stronger choices in this format.
Right. looks like he's finally come up against a team that really counters, you know, that Linoon pretty well.
Yep.
Not a lot of opportunity for Linoon to perform against Carrymei's team here.
All right, let's see if Mr. Morimoto will be able to pull the reverse sweep. We did see that against his match with Strawberry, so certainly not within the realm of the possibility. Mr. Morimoto has shown that he's very good adjusting, very good making some changes to his team and how he plays. But Carrymei so far has put on absolutely dominating victories in this set, so feels like Mr. Morimoto might need to go back to the drawing board. But once again, it is the Linoon against the Skarmory, and we've seen how this has played out earlier on in the game.
Again, not the best early matchup for the Linoon, as that Thunder is pretty much going to get shielded 100% of the time this early in the game. It
feels like Linoon is a kind of a better late game Pokemon where once you bait out the shields, you get these really powerful charge moves off. But earlier on, pretty much always going to be shielding. But here, actually trying to bait out a Thunder, and ooh, nice choice for the Grass Knot there.
Great shield bait by Mr. Morimoto. Carrymei committing there, expecting the Thunder. Of course, Grass Knot costing just a little bit less energy.
All right, going for another one this time around. Does Carrymei expect yet another Grass Knot, or does the Skarmory eat up a Thunder this time around, only getting a great Thunder off? And oh, looks like it was a shield.
Smart shield by Carrymei there. Probably paying attention to Mr. Morimoto's energy level. Knew he had enough energy ready for that Thunder.
So trading shields right now, this has actually probably been the earliest usage of shields in this matchup. Neither player having shields left anymore, but that's a great story for obviously for Linoon. And but the Azumarill comes in as the Bastiodon comes out. That is not what you want to see if you're Mr. Morimoto.
Great timing there by Carrymei. I don't know if he saw the switch coming or if he just decided to switch at the same time, but that worked out perfectly.
Absolutely. So right now, going to be in a really tough position, eating up that Hydro Pump, taking so much damage. I mean, Bastiodon can retaliate back with the Stone Edge of itself, but still not doing nearly as much as the Hydro Pump itself is doing. Right.
Definitely not the best matchup for Bastiodon here. And of course, with those switch timers locked in for at least the next 25 seconds, Bastiodon's stuck here with those bubbles.
Yep, so there is a knockout, and Linoon definitely a better Pokemon to switch in than the Alolan Marowak, which obviously does so much, it takes so much damage from these bubbles. This Grass Knot here from the Linoon should be able to get the knockout here onto Azumarill. So 2-2 right now, but obviously Linoon is very low on health. All right, looks like Skarmory here also has a charge move ready, so we'll just be able to knock out the Linoon, so Carrymei will take the 2-1 lead. Skarmory still being relatively healthy. Oh, but Alolan Marowak, obviously a decent Pokemon to have against Skarmory. It's going to come down to what Carrymei's last Pokemon is.
Alolan Marowak committing to the ground-type move. Oh. It's not going to deal much damage to this Skarmory at all.
Yeah, definitely not the attack that you want to be using. Is it enough to get the knockout? No, it isn't. And that means Skarmory will be able to retaliate with the Sky attack of itself. So Carrymei definitely in a very, very advantageous position. Even if the last one is Deoxys on his end, I think Mr. Morimoto in a very good position. He actually pulls out the switch there as well. So let's see. Going for it, it's like another Earthquake there, actually.
See how much damage this Alolan Marowak
or Pokemon, excuse me. Yeah, that does nothing. I think Carrymei should be able to close out this one. I feel like what really dictated the pace of this game was the unfortunate Azumarill versus Bastiodon matchup where both players switched, and it so happened that the Azumarill came in as Bastiodon came in. Perhaps Carrymei actually predicting that, but he will advance on 3-0 into the losers finals.
Right, whether it was skill or luck that dictated that switch, he came out ahead.
Yep.
Big round of applause, of course, for Mr. Morimoto as he exits the stage.
He definitely had some of the coolest Pokemon in this tournament. I think Linoon, I am sold on. Like, after, I'm going to build my own PvP team after this. I'm going to make sure I have a Linoon because it's so cool.
I'm glad it got some representation here on the main stage.
Was that something you had even ever expected to see at all, or is it just like totally out of the ballpark?
I've seen it once before.
Just once?
In a local tournament.
Okay.
And I was really impressed by it then. I'm really impressed by it now. I hope that it gains a little bit of popularity after having so much exposure here on the main stage.
Absolutely. We've only got, I believe, 2 or 3 matches left, so this tournament is really, really coming down to the wire. We're down to the losers finals. Of course, that's going to feature Pogo King against Carrymei. Carrymei being the 8th person who is invited to attend this tournament through that lottery. Really exciting to see him have such a breakout performance, so strong, really, really good play. He got knocked out to the losers bracket pretty early on too, so he's had to play a lot. And of course, he actually did go up against King early on today, and King was able to win 3-0. So exciting to see what adjustments Carrymei maybe can make, especially after knowing what Pokemon King's actually running.
Yeah, and he's got some momentum coming into this match here, having just won that last set against Mr. Morimoto. King, of course, coming off a loss. Let's see how that affects these players mentally.
Yeah, absolutely. And the winner of that will go on to the grand finals to play Poke AK, who will definitely be the favorite, I think, going into the grand finals, not having dropped anything yet. He also gets some time to sit down, watch the other matches, see maybe what the other players are running in terms of their team compositions.
Yeah, definitely has the opportunity here to gain a little bit of knowledge about his opponents. And again, as the only representative of Team Valor, really, really impressive performance amidst a field of lots of Team Instinct and a few Team Mystic.
So excited to see how this plays out. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the action at home. We haven't even had much time to talk about things outside of the matches, but of course you can tweet at us using that hashtag #PlayPokemon. Go show your support for all your favorite players that you have watched throughout the course of this tournament. Of course, and if you're interested in competitive Pokemon Go PvP, lots of resources out there online for you guys to check it out. So definitely don't be shy. Hopefully this has been a good introduction into the competitive scene for you all at home.
Absolutely, and find your local community.
Yep.
I can't stress it enough. Find a community to play with, and it changes everything in Pokemon Go.
We still got games going on right now, though. King, here we are. Losers finals. King leading off with that Deoxys up against the Tropius lead from Karime. So Pokemon we've obviously seen before. These are nothing too surprising, but ones that, Deoxys, of course, gets the advantage in terms of having super effective rock slides. There is an immediate block from the Tropius.
Tropius just chipping away at Deoxys with Razor Leaf. Again, an attack that does a ton of damage as far as quick moves go. King here choosing to shield. That Leaf Blade from Tropius wouldn't have dealt too much damage, but he is able to keep this Deoxys in a little bit longer, hoping to deal some damage here with the Rock Slide. Yeah,
this is a fun trade-off where one Pokemon kind of has a stronger fast move, whereas the other has one charge move that can hit for a lot of damage. So no surprise to see some shields being committed early on. Let's see if King wants to commit a shield this time around. He will, meaning like he now will be able to get a big rock slide off, and Tropius won't be able to shield that off.
Good play by King there, especially considering how little damage Counter has done to this Tropius. He's at a big HP disadvantage, but now with both shields down, he's able to connect with this rock slide.
Wow, look at that
really
damage.
Bring it back. Now immediately switching out to the Umbreon, trying to finish off this Tropius with that dark type attack.
Yeah, definitely a nice switch there. I mean, being able to conserve the Deoxys, just with a little bit of HP. Tropius will be able to get a big attack off here, but Umbreon should be able to take it, knock it out, and then we'll have a charge move ready for once the Tropius goes down. Both charge moves actually now filled up in terms of energy. So we'll see what comes in right now, but with no shields, this is definitely going to be kind of a fast-paced game. And Sableye, not exactly has the best matchup against Umbreon. I mean, Umbreon will do a fair amount of damage with this foul play. Sableye, of course, won't be able to block that as well with no shields.
All right, and we did see the Sableye earlier from Karime. We do know that it's running Power Gem.
Right.
So it'll at least be able to deal neutral damage, but King, with so much energy charged up, is able to use another foul play before that Sableye even gets to use a charge move.
Wow, doing like 80% of damage, are actually forcing the switch out as well, so that's definitely a great position for King to be in. I mean, this Umbreon is just getting all these charge moves off. This is kind of a low energy charge move that does kind of consistent damage across the board. It's exactly what you're seeing here. Gets another excellent off there. Not too much damage done there, but got to be content. And Swampert, what an excellent switch it into a Bastiodon.
Of course, with Karime now locked in with Bastiodon for at least the next 30 seconds, that switch timer slowly counting down, this Swampert is going to be able to connect with Hydro Cannon or Earthquake for tons and tons of damage.
Yeah, either will most certainly get the knockout, so presumably you want to go for the one with lower energy, just so you have a little bit of energy left in a position where you have so many super effective attacks off. Either will work. Bastiodon will faint there, and that was kind of the downside of switching Sableye out into Bastiodon, but it felt like there was just no good answer against the Umbreon. Sableye will get an attack off, but right now King still has all his Pokemon.
King definitely trying to save up a little bit of energy there.
Yep.
Wasn't able to get that Hydro Cannon off in time. Sableye knocks out the Swampert, and now it's back to Umbreon versus Sableye.
All right, that is going to be the foul play that should be able to close out this one. And I think Umbreon honestly really impressed me in this one, because what King was able to do was he brought it to a point where he knew Tropius couldn't do very much against it. Built up so much energy. Then when Sableye came out, just got two big foul plays off back-to-back with no shields remaining, just did so much damage.
Yeah, really, really great mastery of charge moves and the amount of energy that it really takes to use these moves.
Yep.
Knowing that he would be able to get a ton of damage in before that Sableye even had a chance to attack.
Absolutely. really fun matchup, and we'll see how these players adjust. Sabo, I think, definitely a pretty unique pick, but one that really didn't get to do too much in this one because you really can't even do too much damage against Umbreon in the first place. Obviously, you'd want something like a Fairy-type Pokemon or a Fighting-type Pokemon in that position, but Sabo can trade, I guess, neutral damage, you said, with that Power Gem, but Umbreon actually might get the better end of that trade-off because Foul Play does some pretty consistent damage, especially with low energy costs.
Yeah, unfortunately, Sableye is a Pokemon that I really like, Pokemon Go PvP, but it seems to be underperforming here, especially against King's team composition. So let's see how Carry may adjust if he brings in that Deoxys as a potential counter. It would be an interesting matchup against Umbreon because, of course, that Dark-type damage will be super effective against Deoxys, but Deoxys running counter would deal super effective damage right back. And I'm not sure Carry May has any other real serious contenders to go up against that Umbreon.
And here we go, game 2. King is up 1-0, and there's the Umbreon once again actually just leading with it outright this time against Tropius. Last time around, it came out in the latter half of the game, being able to get the knockout and then being able to get a lot of energy. This time around, you see Tropius is actually able to do a decent amount of damage with its fast moves, but definitely not a ton of damage, and Umbreon's going to be able to get some big foul plays off.
I think King definitely recognizing that Umbreon is a very strong choice against Carry May's team here, choosing to lead with it, but now switches it out for Skarmory in order to avoid some damage from this Leaf Blade. Not very effective at all against the Skarmory.
Not at all, yeah. And here's the Bastiodon coming in. So we've seen how good of a matchup Bastiodon can obviously have against the Skarmory. These quick attacks coming out really not doing anything against him. Bastiodon, of course, having that super effective flamethrower to hit it. Flash Cannon, of course, being definitely a better option, but there are still potential shields right now for Carry May.
Right, and Skarmory locked in here for at least another 25 seconds. Is going to have to face this Bastiodon, unfortunately.
All right, let's see. Bastiodon now opting for one of its charged moves. Which one is it going to be? Are we going to see a shield also from the Skarmory? No shield, actually, knowing that it's probably going to faint anyway, so it doesn't want to bother committing a shield there for King's End. Will allow for the Deoxys to come out, get some very strong counters off as its quick attack, and be able to potentially get a knockout. Of course, now opportunity to shield from Bastiodon's Stone Edge.
Bastiodon definitely has some energy charged up there. King, will he choose to commit? Doesn't need to.
Yep.
Interesting switch by Carry May there, bringing in the Deoxys for that mirror match.
All right, let's see. Gonna get a Rock Slide off. Oh, it looks like King is actually looking to switch immediately out into Umbreon, which obviously Dark type against Psychic type, pretty favorable matchup, but no shields used on the end of Carry May left yet. So I'd imagine probably wants to shield this super effective attack coming out from Umbreon.
Interesting to see King switch in here, as that Deoxys is definitely Carry May's best answer against his Umbreon, but hoping that his Dark type damage is enough to offset the Fighting type damage counter.
Psycho Boost really doing nothing there. But of course, Carry May right now with the Pokemon advantage, almost able to knock out the Umbreon. Umbreon here will be able to go for another foul play. It's going to be a super effective attack that would get the knockout onto Deoxys. No shield means that Deoxys here will fade, so 2-2 now. But both players have a shield remaining, and obviously Umbreon is quite low in terms of health.
Right, and not a lot of energy charged up, so this Tropius might be able to, absolutely, is able to finish it off with just Razor Leaf.
All right, it's all down to Deoxys right now. We know it has access to Rock Slide, but of course Carry May still has access to a shield, so a Psycho Boost here could potentially bait out the shield here from the Tropius. There is shield, and now any more energy will ensure that a Rock Slide will be able to knock out the Tropius. One shield left on King's End as well. He has to go for it right now. Does not want to take a big Leaf Blade, which we've seen earlier. Will avoid the damage there. So Deoxys could really pull this off if it has enough energy to build up towards that Rock Slide. Okay, but we actually see the switch out into the Bastiodon trying to eat up one of those charge moves, but King doesn't go for it.
Great choice by King there. Not a charge move. Carry May definitely expecting it, able to call his bluff and save that energy to then knock out the Tropius with Rock Slide. Great moves by King.
Really nice play, I feel like, from both ends there, because Carry May was obviously going for his win condition, which was okay, and then we swap out, try to bait out your charged move, and then come back in and then win from there. But because the Tropius was so low already, King decided I'm not going to go for it, ended up conserving it, and that paid out perfectly for him.
Yeah, absolutely masterful play.
All right, so here we go. If Carry May wants to win and advance onto the finals, he's going to have to beat King 3 times in a row, and that's already hard enough, but King right now is undefeated against him. 5 games in a row in which he has won, so it's definitely going to be an uphill battle, but Carryman has shown that he is definitely good enough to be able to win.
Yeah, lots of pressure on Carryman here, and I feel like that Umbreon is really the biggest issue that he has with King's team. Again, his best Pokemon against that Umbreon, unfortunately, is Deoxys, which does take super effective damage right back.
Part of the problem is we saw earlier in the day that the Azumarill does not have Play Rough, and that's a very common move on the Azumarill. So obviously if it had Play Rough, that'd be great. You can resist the foul plays, you can get a lot of powerful damage off. Maybe you still want to consider bringing Azumarill because at least it can take the damage pretty well, but for now, King just realizes Umbreon is so good, I'm going to lead with it again.
Yep, definitely a safe choice by King. Great recognition, great reading of his opponent's team.
Yep. So just trading damage right now with their quick moves. We are going to see a big potential attack come out from the Skarmory. It's going to be the Sky Attack, and is there going to be a shield? No shield from the Umbreon, so that's actually big because getting that much damage off against Umbreon early on is definitely where you want to do if you're carrying man.
Yeah, especially considering how much he struggles with that Umbreon.
Yeah.
King letting that damage through could come back to hurt him later on in the match.
Let's see, both Pokemon still trading back and forth right now, but for once, the Umbreon is actually at pretty low health. We'll be able to get another big foul play off. Are we going to see a shield? Looks like we are, and it looks like King's actually opting to switch immediately, goes out straight into his Skarmory, so now we'll be able to potentially finish off the opposing Skarmory and build up some energy for himself. Yeah,
queuing up that switch as that Umbreon was still using foul play. That's something you can do in Pokemon Go PvP.
Yep.
Even if that button isn't there, you can tap and bring up that switch menu so that you can queue up that switch and not lose any time between attacks and switches.
Absolutely. Azumarill coming in doesn't really take these attacks too well from the Skarmory. Sky Attack and Flash Cannon both doing some pretty considerable damage, so really kind of wanting to conserve the Skarmory potentially for bait later on, maybe just to switch into a major charged move. But Skarmory here really able to consistently get some damage off. Some missed ones though, so not an excellent attack, but ends up being blocked anyway.
Wow, lucky break for King there, as he's not someone that misses targets very often.
Yeah. So Zoomer here, where you tally with an Ice Beam, actually does so much damage, but doesn't quite get the knockout. However, both shields at this point have already been used by Carryman, and of course, the Umbreon still looking really good. I like the decision to even bring in a Azumarill because, like we were talking about, at least can resist the attacks from the Umbreon pretty well. Ice Beam here will be able to get the knockout, but now I think Deoxys can kind of chunk away at everything and maybe close out the game with Umbreon in the back, especially because there's still multiple shields left for King's End.
Right, Deoxys just able to connect with this Psycho Boost with no problem, no shields left for Carryman, so field is wide open for King.
Psycho Boost there will get the knockout, so 2-2 now. Skarmory is going to come up, but of course that is quite low, and Rock Slide will be able to probably finish it off at this point. King playing it safe right now, does not want to take any damage, will eat up the Sky Attack with his shield. Really nice shield at this point, especially because Skarmory is actually doing some pretty good damage. And we actually see a switch out there, maybe trying to bait out the Psycho Boost, but no bait there. Gonna go for the Rock Slide. Should get some good consistent damage off here against Sableye. But Sableye, at least a decent Pokemon to have up in front of the Deoxys.
Yeah, definitely going to deal some decent damage. Of course, King then follows with a switch to
Exactly.
Umbreon, and we know how this match goes.
Yeah, Sableye actually will be able to get an attack off here first. It is the Power Gem that we talked about earlier, but a shield here will prevent it from Umbreon from taking any damage. Umbreon now has enough energy to go for a big foul play, and I think Umbreon Deoxys should be able to close out this one at this point. Umbreon indeed does have enough energy. We'll go for that foul play. That should get the knockout here onto Sableye.
Yeah, King charging up a little bit of extra energy before committing to that foul play. So now he's halfway to another foul play, and he should be in a great position here to fire that off and finish off this Skarmory.
There it is. King will win this set 3-0. So I think ultimately the Umbreon was just too difficult to deal with, honestly, for Carryman. You mentioned like he pretty much had no answers against it. I feel like when your best answer is in a Azumarill that doesn't have Play Rough, that's really difficult, especially because that's the only answer against it. So all King really needs to do is knock out the Azumarill, and then Umbreon really just sweeps through the game.
Right, definitely shows the importance of team building when it comes to Pokemon Go PvP, because that was kind of a glaring oversight by Carryman to not have an answer to one of the most common Dark-type Pokemon in Umbreon.
Having no, I feel like, strong fighting type attacks or fairy type attacks was really what hurt a lot, because it meant that the shield pressure was just always in King's favor. I feel like there's so many strong attacks on this team, you can really bait out the shields early on by not having too many resists to Umbreon. Umbreon being a pretty bulky Pokemon, it doesn't even need to shield that often because there are no major threats going up against it. You can kind of just stick around and basically bait out a lot of shields from your opponent's end and then kind of sweep in the later game, which is what we saw.
Yep, and now we're going to head back to the bracket where King will be joining Poke AK in the grand finals. So a rematch of the winners finals. And let's see if King can make some adjustments here, or if PokeAK is going to take the win.
All right, I am so excited to see how this goes. We have played through so many games of the Pokemon Go Invitational here at the World Championships in 2019. Hope you guys have been enjoying it at home. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Of course, there's so much action left for the rest of the day, even after the Go Invitational. There's VGC, there's TCG and Pokken throughout the entire weekend. But truly has been a pleasure to be able to do this tournament, and I've seen a lot of cool gameplay, I think. So I'm really excited for this finals.
Absolutely. Really looking forward to see this rematch. Again, two of the most prepared players, I would say.
Yep.
Definitely well-versed in the ways of Pokemon Go PvP. Again, like I've said, King and I have traveled all over the world together. King has traveled independently. PokeAK, I know, has a really strong community where he gets to practice PvP. So it's really important. Again, community is a huge aspect of Pokemon Go, and kind of a unique one, I think, in that as Pokemon Go players, we're really face-to-face all the time. So really just go out, search up Pokemon Go tournaments near me if you're interested in, maybe getting into this Pokemon Go competitive scene.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this last match is going to be pretty interesting because they actually have a lot of Pokemon in common. Obviously, Skarmory, Azumarill, and the Defense Deoxys. So no surprise to see three of the best Pokemon being used, but that definitely has set the pace for a lot of these matches. Both of them are carrying it. But of course, on King's end, he is running that Swampert, and on PokeAK's side, he's got that Venusaur. And obviously, we saw in the first time they played which one of those has the upper hand when they face up against each other.
Right, and that could end up making all the difference, especially considering how similar their team compositions are.
Yeah.
Otherwise, having that Venusaur, which is just going to obliterate the Swampert, proved to be a huge advantage for PokeAK in their first matchup against each other in the winners finals.
Yeah, it was really interesting to kind of see how it played out as well. It went from both players bringing, their respective starter to one player bringing it to neither player bringing it, and there's so many mind games that goes on because though they're both are pretty good Pokemon against obviously each other's teams, but Venusaur is kind of like a specific counter to Swampert. If you have it and your opponent brings out Swampert, you have such an advantage right away just in terms of team matchups. Even if they're not out against each other immediately, you can kind of force some switches. But if your opponent doesn't bring out Swampert, and if you look at the rest of the team, things like Skarmory, Defense Deoxys, those don't really do. Yeah, they take attacks very well from Venusaur and threaten the Venusaur back very, very hard.
Right, well, let's see how it goes. We're going to throw it down to Anna to introduce our finalists.
Thanks so much, guys. Let's hear it for your Pokemon Go Grand Finalists! First, please welcome to the stage, PokeAK! And please welcome Pogo King! If you will both come forward, shake hands, take your positions, and we'll get right into this game.
All right, here we go. The grand finals here at the Pokemon World Championships in Washington, D.C., the Pokemon Go Invitational Tournament. So excited to see how this plays out. We've already seen these players battle once in the bracket. This is definitely the second time, but it could even be a reset for the bracket. So lots of action happening right now. Ooh, and we've actually got some stats for these players. Look at that.
These are definitely some of the most dedicated Pokemon Go players. PokeAK, 6,189 kilometers walked in his time as a Pokemon Go trainer. 139 million experience. Of course, 20 million is all it takes to get to the max level of 40. So
right.
He's gone far beyond that.
Of course, you see his team on the right side. Really no surprises there that we've seen today, but Venusaur definitely being an integral member to his team, especially with the Frenzy Plant that he's been using throughout the course of this tournament. Of course, his opponent is none other than King himself, like you mentioned, the guy who really has been trying to teach everyone about the community, but also clearly quite the good battler here, and he's been rocking quite the team.
And just take a look at his stats. We were impressed by PokeAK. 10,000 kilometers by King. 660 million experience. So definitely lots of experience, both in-game and in battles.
Absolutely. I don't think it's a surprise to see that these guys are up here with each other in the finals. So here we go. Grand finals time. PokeAK coming from the winner's bracket. There is the Azumarill lead for him and the Skarmory lead. And an instant switch to the Tropius, which obviously has quite the good typing against Azumarill.
Azumarill, of course, running that Ice Beam, which is going to deal a ton of damage to Tropius if it goes unshielded.
Is there a shield? Oh, no shield, and it takes so much damage there.
Wow, I don't know if King was expecting maybe Play Rough or didn't remember from previous matchups that this Azumarill is running Ice Beam, but that was a ton of damage.
No shield this time from the Leaf Blade either, so both Pokemon falling quite low. Obviously, both players have their shields out right now. There's another Ice Beam coming out from the Azumarill that most certainly will knock out the Tropius if there's no shield. Poké will connect with everything, and once again, no shield.
Of course, King letting that Tropius go, knowing that whatever he brings in next will probably deal enough damage to knock out this Azumarill before it's able to really retaliate.
All right, it's going to be the Skarmory. Looks like we see in who is going to replace the Azumarill. Obviously, you could go with your own Skarmory. That will be kind of just a neutral matchup, but that's exactly what's going to happen. Poké is comfortable knowing that the opposing Skarmory has already taken some damage. He knows he'll win that positive trade-off if they just keep doing the same damage to each other.
Of course, Skarmory versus Skarmory, and we did see Altaria there as a third Pokemon from Poké, so interesting to see that double flying type composition.
Potentially to a wall, you know, the Swampert like King obviously has on his team composition. So right now we have the classic Skarmory versus Skarmory matchup. Typically in these, the shields don't come out until kind of later on, but here's actually an earlier shield to try to maybe get some momentum going into King's favor.
Yeah, these Skarmory's just trading attacks back and forth. Poké choosing not to shield. Sky Attack not going to deal very much damage at all as Poké continues to build towards his own charge attack.
These situations are always kind of amusing because I feel like you obviously want to switch out, but you're also just content trading damage on Skarmory's because Skarmory is such a pivotal Pokemon for teams in general. No shield once again from King's end, so his Skarmory will fall quite low. Another Sky Attack certainly will get the knockout there. Poké still has both of his shields. We'll see if he decides to commit one here. Looks like he will choose to use one now.
Of course, neither player wanting to give up that switch advantage, just opting to stay in battle with Skarmory here, knowing that by switching out first, you're giving up a lot of pressure.
All right, there's Altaria in now and Deoxys in for King. So going for a big Sky Attack. You're not able to connect with a lot of those, so not an excellent attack, but fortunately, the shield comes out from King.
Of course, Deoxys using counter, not going to be dealing a ton of damage with that fast attack against Altaria here. Altaria is going to want to shield against this Rock Slide. Yep. Good choice by Poké, good shield usage.
So at this point, neither Pokemon or neither teams have shields left at this point, so we're just going to see some heavy offense. We're going to see which team can get their charge attacks faster. It's going to be Altaria for now, going for a big Sky Attack, and that chunks Deoxys very, very comfortably. But of course, Deoxys, like you mentioned, does have access to that super effective Rock Slide.
Let's see if it's enough to knock out the Altaria here.
Is it going to be enough? Oh, it's so close.
Left.
But Deoxys might be able to finish off the deal with the quick moves, and it will be able to do exactly that.
Skarmory, of course, coming in, not needing to use that charge move yet, but does have that energy saved up, and it's enough to finish off King's Skarmory. Great play by Poké, saving that energy on Skarmory, switching out earlier in the match, and having that Sky Attack ready to go.
Yeah, here we go. That is going to be the first win for Poké. He is 2 wins away from being crowned #1 here at the Pokemon Go Invitational at the World Championships. And he has been on fire. I think he's 10-1 now up until this point. He's only dropped 1 game to King, and like you mentioned, a really, really great decision to kind of switch out a low HP Pokemon that had high energy that could really just get one final attack off.
Right, yeah. Great move, saving that Pokemon for the end of the match there, and of course it obviously paid off as he takes that first battle.
All right, we'll see what adjustments King can make. On the top of your head, you know, having seen their teams, is there any way you think King should be playing differently, or maybe some Pokemon he should be bringing that we haven't seen so far?
Well, it's interesting that neither of them opted for those Community Day Pokemon that we saw in their previous meeting here. No Swampert, no Venusaur. I expect to see at least one of those get switched in here.
Right.
Poké maybe doesn't need to make too much of an adjustment having just won that match. The pressure is on King to adapt to what Poké is bringing to the table.
Yeah, definitely. Swampert would be so cool to see, but I feel like it's kind of tough bringing that into a matchup where you have 2 flying types because obviously the ground type based Earthquake isn't going to be doing nearly as much damage, and it's a lot easier to kind of have 2 switch-ins. So, ooh, it's actually going to be a Lantern coming on. King actually led with that Skarmory, so that was a really, really good lead for Poké.
Wow, and immediate switch by King there. Poké keeping that Lantern in, although he was contemplating the switch.
Yeah. Let's see, is there going to be a shield? No shield, but Lantern actually taking damage from that Psycho Boost pretty well. Like you mentioned now, though, wanting to go for that switch is going to bring out Azumarill and is going to be able to get some good bubbles off right now. But nicely, definitely had the advantage in terms of Lantern versus Skarmory.
Now we see Azumarill coming up against the Psycho Boost of Deoxys. Again, King's Deoxys not running Thunderbolt, which would make make this a little bit more difficult for Azumarill.
Right, and of course, Poke being able to make the call knowing that he doesn't have Thunderbolt because he already revealed the Rock Slide. So Ice Beam there will do a lot of damage in return. It feels like Poke has an early lead, especially because the Lantern got let into the Skarmory. That kind of forced the switch out from King's End immediately.
Here we go, one more Psycho Boost from Deoxys before the Azumarill will most likely finish it off.
See, it's close. Oh, actually, a charge move here coming out from Deoxys, and Poke does not want the Azumarill to feint, so nice decision to go for his shield. Now he'll pretty much be guaranteed to get the knockout onto Deoxys, and he'll have enough energy saved up to potentially get a big attack off on anything that switches in.
It's still a good play by King to get that last shield before the Deoxys fainted there. Poke trying to finish Deoxys off with those quick moves, but just not enough damage.
All right, we'll see if the Skarmory decides to shield here. It's going to be a very powerful Hydro Pump. If not, looks like it does decide to shield. You see Poke is already primed up to switch out, instantly going out into that Lantern. And oh, he's prepared. He has got an electric type attack ready, primed for the Skarmory, gets an excellent one off. But the shield does come out there from King, so he's committed both of his shields at this point.
King now bringing in that Tropius. Lantern here stuck in the battle for another 45 seconds as that 1 minute switch timer counts down. Not looking good for Lantern here. Leaf Blade, enough damage to finish it off there.
Yeah, opting not to switch there, but oh, Venusaur, definitely an interesting Pokemon here, where both Pokemon have super effective attacks against each other. Of course, Poke still does have that shield, so you block potential Aerial Ace coming out from that Tropius and retaliate with something like a Sludge Bomb. The Tropius, of course, can't switch out either because it just switched in, so can't just go out into Skarmory and heat a potential Sludge Bomb. So there it is. There is the Sludge Bomb from Venusaur. That's going to be super effective against Tropius. See if it's enough to get the knockout. Oh my goodness.
Tons of damage. Not quite enough, but Tropius not in a good position here. No shields left on either side of the field. Tropius is able to get that Aerial Ace. Actually went for the Leaf Blade. Not enough energy for Aerial Ace.
Yeah, going for the Leaf Blade, and oh, it doesn't get the knockout like you mentioned because it's weaker. Oh, but the Venusaur still falls down, so it's all down to Azumarill right now. Let's see, it is quite low. Obviously, not great type matchup against Tropius to begin with, so it's going to be really close, but King might just be able to pull this one back. Let's see. Oh, we actually see the switch out, and yeah, Skarmory with so much HP will be able to just take any attack from the Azumarill and win the game.
Looks like the win is going over to King, and it's going to be 1-1.
Certainly impressive considering that Lantern was led into the Skarmory. I think that was obviously as bad of a lead matchup as you could have saw, but ultimately it felt like the Tropius this time around put in a lot of work for King.
Yeah, that Tropius comes into the matchup with Venusaur, and they're fairly evenly matched. Each one, like you said, having a super effective move to cover the other, and it really comes down to shield usage and just how these players choose to use their Pokemon.
If anything, I feel like that might highlight like Skarmory as a Pokemon for King's End. You know, if you don't trade all that damage with the opposing Skarmory and you have your shields, it's able to really take decent damage from all these Pokemon, and you can retaliate back with some very strong Sky Attacks or Flash Cannons.
Yeah, again, showing why Skarmory is such a popular Pokemon. It has great matchups against a lot of these Pokemon that we've seen today.
Yeah, and you know, King didn't even need to bring it out until the late game there, kind of to seal things up, but he was able to kind of distribute damage across the board. Feels like Tropius was really essential there because it was able to get those Aerial Aces off before Venusaur was able to get those Sludge Bombs off. So Poke also took a lot of damage with that Lantern very early on in the game, which definitely didn't do him any favors.
Yeah, definitely. Things worked out for King in that matchup. Here we go next with Altaria leading into Deoxys. Altaria has a bit of an advantage here, although King's Deoxys is running Rock Slide, which is going to deal super effective damage. So Poke definitely needs to shield here if he wants to avoid a big chunk of damage.
Let's see. No shield actually just eats up the Rock Slide immediately. Kind of surprising, but the Skarmory is going to swap in as a result. And oh, because the Skarmory comes in first, that's the perfect time for Lantern to come out. One of the best Pokemon I have against Skarmory. We're just talking about how good Skarmory is, but now this Lantern threatens the Skarmory with electric type attacks. like that Thunderbolt.
Especially with that Skarmory now being locked in for the next 45 seconds. I think King was expecting a Sky Attack from Altaria, which is why he brought that Skarmory in.
Yeah.
PokeAK was smart not to commit to that attack, and now gets to follow King's switch and keep that advantage.
Here we go, Skarmory going for another Sky Attack, not very effective. PokeAK not deciding to shield there because, of course, the damage output is just not that great from the Skarmory. So actually charging up and not using these charge moves quite yet. Now he is going to use one. Actually, Skarmory, having had enough energy already, is going to get the charge move off first. The PokeAK still not using those charge moves. Imagine, oh, no shield either. So,
wow.
Interesting.
Really confident in his ability to survive that hit.
Yeah, that was huge. I mean, if not, the Lantern would have just basically wasted all the energy there, but we'll be able to get a big Thunderbolt off, and now potentially could get yet another one off as this Deoxys comes in, but nope, looks like Deoxys will just be able to finish it off.
Unfortunately, a little bit of wasted energy there as that Lantern was so close to getting that next charge move.
All right, Altaria, though, coming in with all this energy, being able to get a big charge move off immediately, only going to be great, but also blocked already by the Deoxys. So a lot of shields being used now by both sides.
Venusaur now coming in. Again, is going to take super effective damage from that Psycho Boost, so it's a good thing PokeAK has saved his shields.
Yep.
He's got 2 shields left. He's got Frenzy Plant on the Venusaur. It's going to deal a ton of damage to this Deoxys.
All right, let's see. Venusaur trying to retaliate back. Still 1 shield left on the side of PokeAK. Going to go for a big Frenzy Plant, but of course 1 shield available for King. He will be able to block that attack. So this is coming down to the wire. Obviously, don't want to take a Psycho Boost here from the Deoxys. So we'll see if Venusaur decides to go for the shield. Looks like it will opt to do so. So now we are playing a shieldless game.
Charging up towards that Frenzy Plant here. PokeAK commits to the charge move, and that's going to be enough damage, most likely to knock out this Deoxys.
All right, Frenzy Plant coming out. We know how strong it is. Look at all that damage off against Deoxys. We'll get the knockout. 2v1 matchup now, but there is an Umbreon. Umbreon definitely no stronger Pokemon King's End, but PokeAK has already built up all this energy. He's able to get a couple of charge moves off with this Venusaur most likely before it'll go down, and he's still got the Altaria waiting in the back. Oh, look at that damage. Another one should just get the knockout too.
Now switching in that Altaria. Choosing to use it essentially as a shield for the Venusaur.
That was an excellent switch there. Yeah, exactly. Venusaur is kind of the win condition at this point. Altaria isn't going to do much damage, but you eat up the foul play now, kind of waste the energy on Umbreon's end, and now it is really going to be a tight battle here to finish. Who gets the charge move off first? Oh! Looks like it's the Venusaur. That should be enough to get the knockout.
And you can see from the reaction on King's End that he had just enough energy charged up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, PokeAK was able to get his charge attack off just in time. Very close match, as we now go 2-1 in favor of PokeAK.
Match point for PokeAK. He is 1 game away from winning the Pokemon Go Invitational Tournament here at the 2019 World Championships in Washington, D.C. That was as close of a game as it gets, though. Pretty much felt like a millisecond away from both players. And I feel like that kind of speaks to a testament of competitive Pokemon Go, where your decision-making matters at every second, because all it takes is one extra second for charging energy, for example, to be able to have the energy you need to get that charge move off.
Right, knowing exactly how much damage you're going to take from an attack, like we saw with PokeAK there, choosing not to shield.
Down to match point here. Let's see if PokeAK can pull it off or whether King can pull the comeback. Definitely an uphill battle for King, but he showed his worth in that last game, and it was a tight battle. So let's see, we're going down to game 4. Gonna be the Altaria lead and the Deoxys lead from both trainers. So once again, no surprise to see typically in this, kind of just trading damage, but of course the Deoxys has the advantage with that Rock Slide.
Definitely a familiar matchup here, something we've seen before. Let's see if King can adjust and play this a little bit differently.
Oh, so much damage from the Rock Slide. We saw the same thing earlier on the first game, but PokeAK was able to end up winning anyway because he wanted to conserve the shields. He's okay taking that Rock Slide damage from the Deoxys. Gonna go for a great, gets the excellent Sky Attack off, and there's the shield. First shield out from Deoxys.
King opting to use that shield early, now charging up towards another Rock Slide. Does PokeAK let his Altaria faint in this situation? No, he commits the shield.
Oh, but the Psycho Boost comes out instead of the Rock Slide, picking out that shield. Excellent play there from King.
PokeAK now committing to that Sky Attack, and then looking to switch immediately afterwards.
Let's see, gets just the great Sky Attack off, but another shield down for King's End, so that's both shields down at this point. Gonna be able to get a big Psycho Boost or Rock Slide off. Let's see if Altaria decides to shield this one. Probably won't be because it's so low HP, and yes, Deoxys will get the attack off there.
PokeAK lets the Altaria go, contemplating which Pokemon is going to be better for him in this situation, commits to the Lantern.
Yeah,
and now
tough to bring in
charging up those
Venusaur
moves.
in that position due to the potential Psycho Boost there. So Lantern coming out actually does just get the knockout there into Deoxys and charged up a fair amount of energy, so King opting not to go for a switch there. This Lantern is pretty close to getting a big Thunderbolt or Hydro Pump off as well.
Just barely able to finish off with those quick attacks.
Armory coming out. Oh, trying to bait out a potential Thunderbolt. Okay, into the Umbreon. But Pokémon actually decided not to go for that Thunderbolt earlier, so now we'll potentially get a big Hydro Pump off if it decides to stay in.
Looks like these players have run into some technical issues.
Yeah, you're going to see the Hydro Pump coming out right now from King, or from Pokémon, excuse me. Going to get that off. Does so much damage to the Umbreon. As, looks like, yeah, we might have a reset for that game. I'm not sure what was going on, so I'll try to find out real quick for you guys.
Yeah, we'll see. We see them talking back and forth, kind of communicating to each other that maybe they might have had some issues, so we'll see how this ends up.
All right, let's see. Still waiting on figuring out what happened there exactly. Looks like the players actually disconnected from each other during that game, so they weren't able to input attacks against each other. We just saw one perspective of it, so I think we're probably going to do a redo of that last game.
Of course, some good sportsmanship there. You know, trusting the opponent in that they weren't able to get those attacks in, so.
Yeah.
Definitely, these players have a lot of experience. No problem heading back into this match to reset this next game.
As we wait, though, I mean, let's kind of talk about what we've seen so far. What do you think of the Pokemon that both players brought into that matchup and how they played up until that point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting to see them, again, leading with the same Pokemon, Deoxys versus Altaria there. And interesting to see Poké letting so much damage through early on, but choosing to save those shields. So I'm curious to see if King kind of adapts his strategy, knowing that Altaria is probably going to let some damage through early on.
All right, here we go. Redo of Game 4. Altaria is out, and there is the Deoxys from King's End. Both of them just trading damage once again. We've seen how this has played out before. We know the Deoxys has Rock Slides. We know that Poké tends to not go for the shields earlier on against these Rock Slides, so wouldn't be surprised to see him just kind of take one here, and that's exactly what happens.
Yep, now charging up towards that Sky Attack. A little bit of extra energy, but committing to the Sky Attack now. Will King shield? Keep this Deoxys.
Is there a shield? Yes, there is a shield that came out, and this is kind of a replay, it seems like, of that last match where Deoxys shielded the Sky Attacks both times. So once again, big attack coming out this time. Psycho Boost, of course, came out last time. Wonder if he's going to try to bait it out again. Looks like Psycho Boost is coming out, and there is the shield once again.
Another bait. These players playing this match exactly the same way as the last game went.
Altaria going for yet another Sky Attack. Last time around, there was a shield from Deoxys, so they might just actually be re-inputting the moves up to a certain point from that last match, which would make sense.
Yeah, definitely good sportsmanship. You know, nice to play the same way up until they had those issues.
Yep, so here we go. Deoxys going for a Psycho Boost. This time, we'll get the knockout onto Altaria. Of course, last time we saw the Lantern switch in, so no surprise to see that once again, really able to just get some quick damage off here as Deoxys will fade. So I think last time we saw the Skarmory come in, but I'm sure that's what King didn't want, so I wouldn't be surprised to see something else come in instead of the Skarmory. Let's see. King is deciding, and it is going to be the Umbreon instead. Definitely a better switching into the Lantern. Doesn't have to worry about super effective Thunderbolts.
Yeah, that Hydro Pump, though, if it goes unshielded, is going to deal a ton of damage. Of course, King has no shields left, so that Hydro Pump's going to get through.
Oh my goodness,
a big chunk out of that Umbreon's HP.
Pretty much half, and Poké still has one of his shields remaining, so you can see how comfortable he was giving up Altaria, using one shield to at least trade some damage off of Deoxys, but now committing his last shield. Of course, kind of having the advantage, though, because the Umbreon's quite low. If he knocks out this Umbreon, it'll be a Lantern off against a Skarmory. An excellent switch there. Oh, actually, it looks like he was trying to switch, but didn't get it off.
Yeah, just a little bit too slow in that switch input there. So Lantern stays in. Doesn't take too much damage from the foul play.
Yep. Here we go. It's kind of a battle to see which Pokemon gets their charge move off first. Okay, it's going to be the Lantern. It will be able to get the knockout onto the Umbreon, so it is so close. Poké can taste the championship, but it's still definitely not over by any means, especially because Skarmory here, of course, has quite the good matchup against what we saw was the Venusaur in the back. Oh, is he going to get the Thunderbolt off? He does.
Just in time. Thunderbolt coming across, going to be super effective against that Skarmory.
There it is. It does so much damage. They're actually swapping out potentially to eat up an attack here from the Skarmory, then the Lantern, of course, will be able to come back in and potentially finish this game off. But this will be a very effective high attack on Venus for so much damage.
Big hit.
Oh, it's not over by any means. Is King going to be able to pull this off? Let's see. Lantern does not have very much energy right now.
Skarmory
Is Skarmory going to be able to pull it off? Oh! The Skarmory gets it. King forces a game 5.
Just
oh my goodness.
barely pulls it off.
That was as close as it gets. I think the Lantern needed just one more quick attack off, and it would have been able to win this game. So, wow, it doesn't get any closer than that.
Incredible.
Oof.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
No, I mean,
I
think this finals is highlighting the switch mechanic especially, right? Kind of switching out, conserving really important Pokemon for later on. But wow, really, really great demonstration there. And even though King gave up his shields earlier on, Poké was able to pull off the game against Poké. Really impressive play.
Yeah, great foresight by King there. And really just maybe a little bit of luck in just having barely enough HP left to really survive that last attack.
Here we go. It's going to be game 5 here between King and Poké. We'll see who comes out on top. I believe if Poké wins, he will be crowned the grand champion. But if King wins, we'll actually have a second grand final set.
Yeah, it's exciting either way.
Either way, super dynamic gameplay. I really want to see the Swampert come out again because the Venusaur finally made an appearance again, but I don't think it will.
Yeah, I think King's a little nervous about bringing the Swampert back, considering Poké definitely has an advantage in that Venusaur. So, looks like they're leading off with flying types here, and Poké looking for an early switch, charging up a little bit of energy before committing to it, and then bringing in the Azumarill.
So some quick switches from both ends, and Tropy is an excellent Pokemon to switch into Azumarill. Of course, we do know the Azumarill has access to this Ice Beam, though, so the matchup isn't as one-sided as it may seem. King knows, of course, Azumarill has Ice Beam, so surely he'll want to shield this. We'll see if he actually decides to, or whether he'll just want to eat it up. We'll get the Ice Beam off.
He has let this Ice Beam through before, so let's see what he decides to do here.
All right, looks like it will go through, and yeah, it doesn't shield it, so taking so much damage there. Maybe comfortable trying to bait out the damage earlier on. Comfortable taking that. Looks like game has some connectivity, so issues, so hopefully we might get another rematch here. I think that's what it's looking like.
Yeah, unfortunately, a little bit of connectivity issue there. Of course, these players, again, going to reset. Head into this next battle, again with the same Pokemon, same teams. So as they scan each other's QR codes there.
Definitely one of the challenges of live Pokemon Go PvP, but they have definitely given a great show right now, and I am on my toes for this 5th game.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, they'll play it out the same way like we saw last time, so some good sportsmanship here. It looked like that connection issue might have prevented King from using the shield, so maybe he'll change that up as they go into this rematch.
Let's see. I want to know if they're going to go with the same leads as well. It feels like that's what happened after that last time the game disconnected, so just trying to work through some technical issues right now. But in the meantime, definitely been a very good show. I think some adjustments there. We saw a lot. I think the Tropius deciding not to shield the Ice Beam is definitely an interesting decision because Ice Beam is such a strong attack against Tropius specifically. Right,
with that double super effective damage. I think that King might have been affected by the connection issues.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why that shield didn't go through,
yeah,
leading to this rematch that we're about to see.
And of course, earlier on in the tournament, we saw that King did just eat up an Ice Beam with the Tropius, but that was maybe because he didn't know that the Azumarill had Ice Beam, kind of wanted to scout it out, or maybe he was comfortable taking it. Obviously, it never looks great to take up so much damage from a super effective attack, but sometimes you kind of want to maybe just bait out or scout out what your opponent is running.
Right, in the right situation, you can definitely let some damage through, but I don't think that Ice Beam against the Tropius is the right situation.
Yeah. All right, these players are ready. Here we go. Game 5. Poké, if he wins, will take home the championship. King looking to reset the bracket. So once again, yeah, it looks like they're going to make the same switches that they did earlier on, kind of playing it out. So this time around, I expect to see the Ice Beam, and we'll see if there is going to be a shield coming out from the Tropius. Last time around, King didn't have the opportunity to shield, but of course, we disconnected. No shield this time around, so playing it the same way. Once again, maybe that was indeed intentional.
Wow, King just letting all that damage through, retaliating here with a Leaf Blade, Gonna deal super effective damage to the Azumarill, but not nearly as much as that Ice Beam just dealt to the Tropius.
Yeah, so Tropius taking so much damage there, but Azumarill also quite low by itself. No shield, of course, committed yet, and it's a high-pressure situation. You really, really want to conserve your shields for the most important situations. So here we go. Azumarill is down. Tropius, very, very low HP, will faint relatively quickly to any attack. I think Altaria right now in a prime position to maybe charge up its energy while knocking out Tropius. That's exactly what happens here.
And one interesting thing that we did see there was Poké took a little bit of time to select his Pokemon.
Yeah.
Because that switch timer does continue counting down.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of free time there to get closer to your next switch. And of course, it worked out because now he has that switch available to bring this Lantern in. King, of course, follows with Deoxys, and we'll see how this match plays out. Not necessarily an advantage for either of these Pokemon right now, so it's going to come down to shield usage. Poké here choosing not to shield the Psycho Boost.
All right, Psycho Boost doing a hefty amount, not too much, but Poké's energy now is charged up, does have the opportunity to go for one of those Thunderbolts or Hydro Pumps. Gonna opt for the Thunderbolt. Let's see if a shield comes out this time around from the Deoxys. There is the shield. You'd imagine, no surprise to see it at this point in the game.
Yeah, a little bit of a bait there, as that Hydro Pump would have dealt a lot more damage, but saves on energy by using Thunderbolt. Now has a little bit energy saved up, able to use his shield, and now can fire off another charge attack against King's Deoxys.
All right, let's see. Poké no longer has any shields remaining, though, so he is down to his last few Pokemon. He's got to go full offense here at this point. One shield left on King's end, and he does use it there. So here we go. It is going to be a 2v2 battle. No shields remaining, and Altaria actually has enough energy charged for the Sky attack. Should be able to just knock out the Deoxys from this point.
Great play by Poké to save that energy, get those shields down, and then bring that Altaria in ready to attack.
Oh.
And again, so much energy charged up that it can now use a second Sky attack against King Skarmory.
Excellent conservation of energy, does so much damage there to the Skarmory. Let's see if Skarmory can pull this off. Let's see, there's a big attack coming out right now. Skarmory charging for one. No shields remaining. Will it be enough to knock out the Altaria? Altaria is obviously quite low, and oh, it hangs on with just a little bit of health remaining.
Altaria using that Dragon
So
Breath.
close. Okay, Altaria faints. Here we go. It's down to Skarmory and down to Lantern. Kind of same situation. They're both so low, but oh, Skarmory has the attack. It's going to get the knockout.
Just enough energy to get that attack
No
off.
way. This Skarmory has
and
been
take
so
the match.
clutch. That's incredible. Wow.
King, of course, coming up from the loser's bracket, does reset the bracket here.
Oh my goodness. I believe there should be a bracket reset given that it was a winners and a losers bracket. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure, but both of those last games, it was like Skarmory having a sliver of HP, just having enough energy both times, relying on those charge. I mean, that highlights how strong these charge moves are. If you're able to get them off, it makes all the difference. And both times, Lantern was so close to pulling it off. It feels like, you know, kind of just a millisecond or a second away from really being able to seal up the game.
Right, these last few matches really coming down to the wire, just showing how evenly matched these players are.
Yeah.
They've now each won one set of matches against each other, and we're going into our second grand finals to crown a champion at the first Pokemon Go Invitational tournament.
This is so fun to watch, honestly. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better grand final set. The fact that those two last games came down to one Pokemon against one Pokemon, both of them under like 10 HP. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, incredibly close.
Yeah, I mean, obviously exhilarating for King, but heartbreaking for Poké. But, you know, Poké's won still multiple games against King. Definitely has played very well throughout the course of this finals and, of course, before this final. So we'll see what adjustments the players make. It seems like Skarmory is obviously a very high priority pick for both trainers.
Yeah, at this point, they've seen everything that each other's team has to offer.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how they build their teams, teams of three heading into this next match.
And one thing to note is that, unsurprisingly, King has opted really not to bring that Swampert at all. It doesn't have a very good matchup against multiple things, obviously the Venusaur, but even the flying types like Skarmory and Altaria, for example. So probably not a Pokemon we're going to see very much of. Here we go, bracket reset, and it's actually going to be an Azumarill mirror match to get it kicked off.
Of course, King is going to have the advantage here, carrying Play Rough on his Azumarill. So let's see how this plays out. Poké charging up a little bit of extra energy. King committing to the charge attack. Poké choosing not to shield.
All right, that's going to be a big Play Rough coming out initially. Does some hefty damage. PokeK obviously has some energy saved up, and this is something that he seems to like to do a lot as he contemplates switching right now, building up enough energy to get multiple attacks off when he comes back in. Lantern now is going to be the switch up, but King making an excellent adjustment, bringing in Tropius, obviously having that grass type advantage here right now.
Yeah, PokeK giving up that early switch advantage. Very, very important concept in Pokemon Go PvP, because that long switch timer is going to prevent PokeK from now switching out this Lantern, leaving it in there to take super effective damage from the Tropius.
Yeah, that was an absolutely huge Leaf Blade there, taking over 50% of Lantern's health. Going to retaliate with the Thunderbolt, doing some healthy damage in return, but Tropius definitely has the advantage right now. Wouldn't be surprised to see both players kind of just go through their attacks right now. I don't think it's a great time to go for a shield, especially with this Lantern, since it's already not in a great matchup. You want to conserve that shield for later. That's exactly what happens. Lantern is going to faint.
Interestingly, King is using Aerial Ace on his Tropius, as opposed to Razor Leaf.
Yep.
And that is going to let him charge up moves a little bit faster, so he's able to use those Leaf Blades a little bit more often.
All right, still lots of shields left on both players, and Tropius here going for the Aerial Ace. No shield coming out from Altaria. Doesn't do too much damage there. The Altaria here should be able to get the knockout in return. The key thing is both Altaria and Azumarill have so much energy charged up right now. So even though it's 2-2, PokeK feels like he might have a slight advantage given all the energy that he has.
King bringing back the Azumarill there. Play Rough being blocked. Great shield usage. And now Sky Attack from the Altaria heading across towards that Azumarill. King decides to shield. PokeK immediately going for the switch. And now using that Hydro Pump to deal a good amount of damage.
Hydro Pump comes out, brings the opposing Azumarill under 50%. This Azumarill is obviously looking to charge up that Plague Rough, maybe even bait out a shield with a potential Ice Beam. Here it goes, going to be able to get an attack off. Which one will it be? Will it be the Ice Beam or the Play Rough? Will PokeK shield? It's like no shield, and it's going to be the Play Rough. So best outcome there for PokeKing. Gets a ton of damage out there.
Yeah, very even matchup here. Both of these Azumarill initially coming in with very similar amounts of HP. And this is going to show you just how much of an advantage Play Rough really has over the Hydro Pump and Ice Beam, where King should be able to charge up one more just a little bit faster than PokeK.
Yeah, there we go. Here is a big attack coming out from King's end. It's actually going to be the Ice Beam, so maybe try to bait out either the shield or just doing enough damage anyway. No way let, if you switch into Altaria, take a lot of damage as well. So here we go. There is still one shield remaining on PokeK's end. He is going to go for it. Kind of needs to really to avoid a super effective Ice Beam off here. So much energy has been built up on that Azumarill, and it's actually going to be a swap out here to Deoxys. We know the Deoxys has that super effective Rock Slide, so it should be able to just get the knockout onto Altaria. I don't believe Sky Attack will be able to do enough here against the Deoxys, and there is still the potential for a shield. That's exactly what comes out right now.
King saving that Azumarill for later. It doesn't have a ton of energy charged up, but if this battle goes on long enough, he may be able to bring it in to take an attack and sort of use it as an extra shield.
There's the Rock Slide and gets the knockout. King will take the first game. Here we go. He is definitely on a roll right now, resetting the bracket, now 2 games away from winning the Pokemon Go Invitational here at the World Championships. Wow, I mean, I feel like Tropius really put in a lot of work in that game. A lot of PokeK's Pokemon, like the Azumarill, like the Lantern, are quite weak to the Tropius, and obviously, King had an early advantage by being able to switch in the Tropius into one of those Water-type Pokemon and just get so much damage off.
Yeah, and especially having that Air Slash as a quick move on Tropius really does allow it to charge up those Leaf Blades and those Aerial Aces much faster than if you were using Razor Leaf. And in a lot of situations, that can make a huge difference. Even though Razor Leaf would deal better damage against the Azumarill, against the Lantern, still being able to charge up that Leaf Blade quickly leads to a lot more shield pressure against PokeK.
Yeah, oh man, this is really coming down to the wire. I'm so excited. I honestly expect a 5-game set from these players, but some adjustments definitely made from both sides there in terms of team choices. Here we go, once again, Umbreon coming out this time. Lantern once again makes an appearance as well.
Let's see how these players play this out. Not really an advantage for either of these Pokemon, so we'll see how they decide to use their attacks and their shields. Umbreon getting that first attack off. Looks like it's going to be a foul play.
Let's see how much damage it does. No shield comes out from the Lantern. Umbreon's attack's typically a little bit weaker, but gets them off a little bit more consistently because of the lower energy requirement for foul play. So Here we go. Big Hydro Pump coming out from the Lantern. Are we going to see a shield from the Umbreon? No shield comes out and does so much damage there right from the get-go.
Great choice by PokeAK to build up that energy for the Hydro Pump. Now taking another foul play from the Umbreon. While contemplating a switch here, decides not to switch, builds up a little bit more energy. Will he be able to get the Thunderbolt? Umbreon typically builds up energy a little bit quicker.
Ooh.
And just barely beats him to it with tiny bit of HP
King
left.
has really come so close with these. It looks like once again just at 1 HP gets that foul play off. We'll get the knockout there onto the Lantern. So obviously Umbreon will faint pretty much instantly, but being able to hang on, getting a big attack off is obviously quite nice. You don't take any damage, and you get a little bit of chip damage there for PokeAK Skarmory.
Yeah, absolutely. Just really close plays all throughout this match, as we now see Skarmory charging up that Sky Attack, getting ready to deal some damage to that Deoxys. Again, Deoxys on King's side, carrying Rock Slide and not Thunderbolt, which will deal neutral damage, but that Thunderbolt option would be better against this Skarmory.
Yeah, so both players opting for their charge moves. I believe we saw the shield come out from Deoxys' end, just the regular Rock Slide there from King's end. So some good damage to that Skarmory. Skarmory obviously being quite the tanky Pokemon here. Another shield coming out, or another attack coming out. This time PokeAK will decide to use the shield here, so both players down to 1 shield. Ooh, but a nice Psycho Boost baiting out that shield. Very nicely done on King's end.
Yeah, smart play by King there to get that shield and then switch out immediately, bringing in his own Skarmory, which is not going to take much damage at all from the Sky Attack, and should be able to finish off PokeAK's Skarmory, and still has that Deoxys.
Those were two excellent plays back-to-back, eating up the, obviously baiting out with the Psycho Boost, baiting out that shield, and then also switching in to the Skarmory, which doesn't do very much damage, obviously, against King Skarmory. Very nice plays there. King in a good spot right now, definitely, to take the second game. 1 shield left on both players' end, but the Skarmory is quite low from PokeAK's end.
Looks like we might have a little bit of trouble. That Skarmory goes down. King and PokeAK each talking to each other here. Unfortunately, gonna have to reset this game.
Yep, no worries. We'll see how they decide to replay it. But it's been a really good final so far, regardless, and I've had a lot of fun enjoying these guys go up against each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to see this really competitive play here for Pokemon Go. A lot of really close matches, especially between these two players here in our grand finals.
Yeah, it's really been fun to kind of watch the dynamic there. I mean, it feels like King was making such good plays in that last game, though. I mean, going for the Psycho Boost into Skarmory and then switching out when he had some energy left over for a potential endgame sweep, and then switching into Skarmory right away when the Deoxys was going for, when the opposing Skarmory was going for the Sky Attack. So I feel like those were two really like kind of game-winning plays.
Yeah, showing that, you know, even though you only have 2 shields, you can definitely use switching to your advantage.
Yeah.
Switching at the right time to tank an attack from a Pokemon that might not be super effective.
Absolutely. So there it is again, the Umbreon and the Lantern. Foul play going to come out, not do too much damage. I think wouldn't be surprised to see both players just play it the same way as they did before.
Yep.
As the Lantern here will go for a Hydro Pump of its own.
Just a little bit of good sportsmanship here, playing out the match to a similar position that they were in before they had to reset.
Yep, absolutely. So Umbreon once again getting a big foul playoff. Of course, hard to replicate the exact match due to you might not be able to hit all your moves, for example, with the charge moves, but relatively close enough. And last time around, I believe the Umbreon hung on with just a sliver of HP, so yeah, looks like that is the case once again.
There it is, getting off that foul play just in time. And now PokeAK is going to bring in the Skarmory.
There we go, yeah. So kind of looks like they are just playing it the exact same way. And in that last one, I was really excited to see how it plays out because King really had a great advantage. You know, here he was able to get that Rock Slide off against the Skarmory, do a lot of damage. They kind of traded shields back and forth, but then King made those really good plays, baiting out a shield with the Psycho Boost and then switching out into the opposing Skarmory. So going to see that Rock Slide come out here against the Skarmory. And yeah, Skarmory's going to retaliate here as the Deoxys, I believe, last time did not go for a shield. Let's see. Yep, no shield.
It'll be interesting to see if they can replicate that, because that play by King did require some really precise timing.
Right. Skarmory once again going for end. This time there was a shield. Last time how this played out was that the Deoxys, of course, went for that Psycho Boost off against the opposing Deoxys, baiting out that shield from PokeAK's end.
King going for the charge attack here. Poke this time choosing not to shield.
So I guess playing it a little bit differently. It was the same up until this point, but that Psycho Boost will get the knockout. And of course now Altaria is in. 2 shields left this time around though for Poke AK, which are absolutely critical in blocking rock slides. And there's the rock slide from Deoxys.
Yep, preventing that super effective damage. King now bringing in his Skarmory. And we have a bit of an interesting matchup here. Both of these players charging up a little bit of energy. Skarmory firing off a charge attack now. Poke AK deciding to use the shield, block the damage from that Sky attack, and almost immediately, nope, decides to charge up a little bit of extra energy. Really going for a lot of damage with that Dragon Breath.
So here we go, Altaria going for strong attack, and of course there is no potential shield on the opposing end, so that Sky attack will go off. Or sorry, there was one potential shield, that is the last shield now committed on King's end. There's no shields left on Poke AK's end, but he will be able to yet get another Sky attack off.
Luckily, he was able to get the excellent, breaking all those targets there. It looks like he let a few fly on the shielded attack, but that worked out in his favor anyway. Yep,
Sky attack comes out now, does so much damage to Altaria, and King is definitely in a prime position to win this game. He's slowly whittling away at the Altaria. Will it be enough to get the knockout? It will be, and King is up 2-0 now in this Grand Finals after pulling off that reset.
Really carrying a lot of momentum into this Grand Finals, second Grand Finals. After resetting the bracket, coming up from the losers bracket. These two players have now faced each other so many times. It seems like they know each other's teams inside and out, and it really comes down to technical ability and making the right choices at this point.
Right, I mean, beyond just those really close calls between these two players, what do you think has been different? Because King has really just come out and kind of stomped the last 2 games.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see Poke AK's shield usage, really saving those shields for later in the game, which maybe hasn't been working out. So he might want to try to front load his team a little bit, invest a little more of his resources in the lead Pokemon, and really try to take advantage and take control of the game early on.
Feels like something that King's been able to do really well is kind of be able to always switch after Poke AK makes his initial switch. That gives him a pretty big advantage right from the start. And like you mentioned, Poke AK really conserved the shields earlier on, or later on in that last game. And oh, okay, it's actually Skarmory against Venusaur. Definitely not the best lead for Venusaur here. Might just force out a switch immediately is what is going to take place. But Azumarill, not exactly the best switcher because Tropius can come exactly right in. So just what we were talking about. So one person switches out, the other switches in. Let's see. Will Tropius this time go and shield the Ice Beam? Because this Ice Beam still does a lot of damage, so you know, shield here would be huge. No shield once again, but King seems comfortable just eating up these Ice Beams from Azumarill.
Really, really interesting to see him letting that Ice Beam through every single time.
Yeah. No shield from these super effective attacks at all, so both players really wanting to conserve the shield for the late game. That has been the trend so far in this Grand Finals, but still being the case, this time around Tropius will get another big Leaf Blade off. This time the shield will come out from the Azumarill.
King showing really, really great knowledge of this matchup here, knowing that he can get those 2 Leaf Blades off before another Ice Beam comes through. So able to get some good damage in and get a shield despite letting so much damage through with Ice Beam. And of course, doesn't use any of his shields there, and Azumarill is still in critical health.
Yeah, so Deoxys is coming in now. An excellent Pokemon to have because it actually has excellent coverage if you think about what is remaining on Poke AK's, and it can knock out the Azumarill, which is at a very low range. The Psycho Boost will do super effective damage against Venusaur, and you have the Rock Slides from the Altaria as well. And once again, no shields. So Poke AK is really just saving up these shields for the late game, but King still has both of his shields off, and this Deoxys is in a prime position to just block 2 big attacks and kind of sweep through right now.
Yeah, definitely set up on King's side of the field to really run away with this match, and potentially with the Grand Finals.
Take home the entire thing. Let's see, is Altaria going to use the shield right now? Oh, there's no shield, but that was a Psycho Boost still enough. Oh, just enough to get the knockout after a little bit of attacks afterwards. So both players are down to their last 2 Pokemon, but King definitely in a good spot right now with this Deoxys. Has attacks that hit for super effective damage. He's still got a shield left as well. Of course, Venusaur, though, is able to potentially block a Psycho Boost coming out from the Deoxys right now.
Definitely wants to prevent this damage and charge up enough energy to get off that Frenzy Plant. King switched perfectly, and Poke AK reading that switch really well. actually not committing to the Frenzy Plant, but bringing in the Azumarill.
Yeah, going straight for the Ice Beam here, but it's really definitely going to be it. Oh, and the last shield comes out from King's End, so now there are no shields from either end, but I think Azumarill here should go down. Will it be able to get a last charge move off? No, it won't be able to. It is Venusaur against Skarmory right now, and that is not a great matchup, especially because now Skarmory has enough energy to get a super strong Sky Attack off. Super effective. It gets the knockout, and
Just
King is your champion. Wow.
Amazing. Coming up from the losers bracket after losing to PokeAK, makes some incredible adjustments and pulls off the win.
Such a fun finals to watch. Obviously, incredible show by PokeAK as well. It felt like ultimately King was really able to figure out a very consistent strategy with the Deoxys and with the Skarmory. And one thing that PokeAK ended up not bringing was his own Skarmory. He was kind of prioritizing his Venusaur. Shield usage was definitely interesting. I think he, like a lot of times, kind of saved shields for attacks that maybe weren't as strong. There was that, for example, in that last game, Tropius against Azumarill, the Azumarill kind of just ate up that big Leaf Blade, which was kind of surprising because I feel like if you're able to shield Tropius' attacks, that's like the main counter to Azumarill out of the way.
Yeah, and I mean, that Tropius worked out really well for King, especially carrying Air Slash as opposed to Razor Leaf. It was able to not only counter Venusaur, but several other Pokemon on PokeAK's team as well, even taking those big hits from Ice Beam against Azumarill. And King showed really great knowledge of that matchup, knowing exactly how much damage he could take and still take down that Azumarill.
Absolutely. Such an exciting grand finals set. King pulling off the bracket reset in some really close games. I mean, those last two games in the first set were just absolutely insane. Kind of 1 HP away from either player winning. King pulled it off, and then a 3-0 sweep here in the second set to take home the championship. I think we're actually ready to throw it down to an interview with Anna, who has some words and insight from the new champion.
Thanks so much, guys. Let's hear it for your Pokemon Go Invitational Champion, Pogo King! How are you feeling as the winner?
I'm feeling exhausted, but I feel really happy that PvP finally gets a stage to show how great and amazing and how exciting were those matches. So,
I bet a lot of people are watching you and wanting to learn from you and get advice from you on how to be as good as you are at Pokemon Go. What advice would you give them?
my advice is to seek as many resources as possible. So there's a lot of really great resources. Go Stadium Discord is a really great resource. There's a bunch of really great content creators that are online and that can really help you and improve. So just seek as much help as possible and always be humble on how you can get better.
That's absolutely great advice. Thank you so much. Guys, let's hear it one more time for Pogo King. And now here from our main stage, we are going to throw it over to Kyle and Dylan. They're going to go over some changes in the TCG.
And we're going. Go.
Hello, everyone. I am Kyle Pukastukovic, and today I'm joined by a special guest. We have Dylan Exobyte Mayo, and we're going to have a quick little chat about the Pokemon TCG and why there was a rotation this year before the World Championships. It's kind of a special thing, so we have our special guest Dylan here to talk about it. Dylan, it's been a few years since we've had you on the stream, so for those who might not be familiar with you, why not give a quick introduction and tell everybody who you are?
Like you said, my name is Dylan Exobyte Mayo. I work for Pokemon at the Pokemon Company International. I'm the game designer